My girlfriend of 3 years doesn't know that I know she's cheating, but she's about to. I, 21 female, have been dating my girlfriend, 22 female, for 3 years. I grew up in a really small town, so finding other women who liked women wasn't easy. We met at my college orientation because she was one of the group leaders showing us around. I saw her more and more as the weeks passed because we ate at similar times and we eventually became friends. She always assumed I was straight because I have a very feminine style, and I'm sure others can relate to this misconception. But being friends didn't last long when we found out that we both liked women. The last 3 years have been great, or at least I thought they were. About 2 months ago, she started getting really cagey around her phone, which was a red flag to me. Before that, we were both open with our phones and frequently went on them for directions, to look things up, or to text our friends if our phone died. 2 weeks ago, I went through her phone when she was showering. Yes, I know, invasion of privacy. And it wasn't hard to find what I was looking for, but what angered me the most is that besides her cheating, she was making fun of me with the other girl. Both of them making remarks that looking like a bimbo would only get me so far. Which is funny, considering she constantly talks to me about how she loves my over-the-top femininity. I was honestly ready to explode right there, but instead, I took screenshots of their flirtatious text messages and I sent them to myself. Both of them are a part of an internship that, at least from my girlfriend's side, she's been working years to get into, in hopes of getting offered a full contract when her schooling is done. As most internships or even jobs are, relationships are strictly prohibited amongst co-workers and result in termination. So, the head of the program will be getting a very exciting email very soon. I also know her schedule like the back of my hand, so my friends and me are going to take back all the stuff that I bought for her and leave a box of the few things that she bought me with a print of the messages taped on top. Maybe not the coldest revenge in the world, but I hope she has fun sleeping in a bed with no sheets or a duvet. Also, have fun scrambling to buy the very expensive textbooks that I bought for you right before finals begin. In the comments, so she's a woman who likes other women, but makes fun of other women who act too much like women with other women. And OP replies, precisely. But also just wanted to add, wearing lots of pink and dressing like a bimbo doesn't define how feminine you are, ladies. You are still feminine no matter how you dress or look, and my bimbo ass will give you a smooch. Unless you don't want it. Good move. You should redo your nails after all that work. Girl gotta keep them neat. When my sister got a feeling and went through her ex-husband's phone, she found out he was cheating and crap-talking about her. I think the crap-talking hurt almost more than the cheating. She had no idea that he thought so poorly of her in their marriage. I'm sorry that she did this to you, and best of luck. My ex was making fun of me with her best friend. I always had a feeling that she was emotionally cheating on me with her BFF. It sucks. I'm glad you're getting out of it, and best of luck. And OP says, that's so evil. I'm sorry, BB. They suck, and you're hot. Back up to the post, we have an edit. Some of the comments are having me rethink sending stuff to her boss. It won't ruin her career, but perhaps it is too far. However, I do feel a lack of sympathy because of how the two of them have talked about me. If I do decide against it, I'm going to find something equally petty that doesn't involve her career. Most of the texts were spent brutally slut-shaming me and calling me a bimbo because of my appearance. The other girl going as far as asking my ex for special photos of me to see if I looked as plastic as she thinks I do, whatever that means. I haven't decided yet. All I know is I'm getting ready to go to a party with my friends. And also to all of my cuties, and I mean everyone, she's, he's, theys, whatever you go by out there, who have also been cheated on, you are super sexy, gorgeous, fabulous, sparkly hot, and cute, and they flop. Small update, I just took all of my stuff with my friends and left all of the items she got me in the box with the printouts of the text messages. I'm about to call her mum, who loves me very much, and tell her everything. I will probably update later on how that went. She probably won't find the box for a few hours, since she usually doesn't get home until around 5. Also, for those who are curious, no, I'm not going to take those textbooks back and just dump them. I'm going to sell them and donate the money to homeless and animal shelters. I'm also going to give the sheets and duvet to a homeless person. And now, on to the update. Hi all. I appreciate all the kind words you all left me. It definitely made this whole thing feel a lot less lonely. I'm finally in a space where I feel like I can update. So, as many of you know, I went through with taking all of my stuff back and leaving the things that she got me with printouts of all the messages between them. I also ended up dumping a ton of glitter on her naked mattress and basically the whole place. I then also called her mother, who I was very close with, and to say she was angry was an understatement. I left her number unblocked because I wanted to see her reaction if she had any at all. As expected, she had a total meltdown. She texted me 84 times begging me to come back to talk, apologizing, and saying she didn't mean it and was just trying to make the other girl feel less insecure. I was the most beautiful woman she's ever met, and she didn't want to lose me, saying she loved me and blah blah blah. It was honestly pathetic. She also called me a ton of times, but I didn't answer. I haven't listened to the voicemails either. She also thought that it was a great idea to wait for me outside of my 8 a.m. class with flowers, and I told her that if she did it again, I'd contact the university for harassment. I've been staying with my friend, and it's honestly been a lot better than I expected. I've been partying a lot over the weekend with my friends. Now, after posting my original post, I received a flood of comments which made me reconsider, and I had a hard time deciding if I wanted to email her internship. To make it short for the people who don't care that much, I did end up emailing the head of the program. Not because she cheated on me, but because the both of them were sending my nude photos between the two of them. I'm still deciding if I want to take legal action on a personal level, but with their line of work, I don't think their behavior is appropriate, especially because the other woman's hateful nature towards specific types of women she deems worthless. I emailed the head of the program the extent of the issue, and however he decides to handle it is his choice. In the comments, non-consensual distribution of intimate images is something you should definitely look into with this. I know it might seem like a lot of legwork, but if you're looking to stick it to the other girl as well, it's an option. Not sure where you're located, but in my country, the maximum sentence is 5 years. We need an update with what the head of the program says. And OP replies, I doubt the head of the program will let me know what they decide to do since I don't work for them. In most countries, it's covered by revenge porn laws, and you absolutely should report it to the police and/or get a lawyer in case she distributed them elsewhere. Quote, and saying she didn't mean it and was just trying to make the other girl feel less insecure. Right. For F's sake, what a pathetic excuse. The ex talked trash about OP and shared her nude pictures. Good for OP for moving on and leaving her in the dust. Not the dust, glitter. And that's way worse because even after months and months of cleaning up, there will still be an occasional sparkle on some random piece of furniture or in the corner of the floor, and it'll remind the ex of everything she did to the OP. Just a pet peeve, but the general attitude of femininity is bad is something I've encountered in a few sapphic spaces, and I effing hate it. Why the F do some folks need to spend time putting down others, especially other gays? It is not going to make anyone like you. Our next post is titled, Dad left us and a decade later wants to reconcile because he has cancer. Am I wrong to be angry? My dad left us and started a new family when I was 14. This had a profound impact on myself and my family. Life as a child of a single parent was hard, as you can imagine. The government benefits was hardly enough to support 3 kids. We lived below the poverty line. My mum became an alcoholic. I started working as soon as I legally could to help with the finances. I sacrificed my childhood so that there was electricity and gas in the house. I started failing at school and paid out of my own pocket to hire a tutor. I went to university locally, even though I had better offers elsewhere. I have a good and stable career now. My family lives with me, but I feel as though they are not respecting me. Recently, my dad got in touch with my younger sister through Facebook. She met up with him and brought him back to my home. He didn't apologize for the pain that he put me through. He made it all about himself and tried to gain sympathy with his plight. Am I the asshole for not caring and not wanting him in my life? I told him to leave. My mother and sister tried to defend him, and we got into an argument, and I threatened to evict my own family. We have not talked for days, and my home has become hostile. What should I do? In the comments, Assholes are assholes. Assholes with cancer are still assholes. Assholes who die are still assholes. There is a tendency when people pass away or become sick for others to feel like they should overlook bad behavior or reconcile just because the person is going through a hard time, or we might not get another chance. No. If he wanted to reconcile, he should have done it before he needed something. He has cancer, and as with any other serious medical condition, there is a huge strain on both financial and emotional fronts. He only came back because he wants your help, probably with both of the above. He is not interested in reconciling for your sake, or even because he wants to make amends, because if that were the case, then he wouldn't have only been focusing on himself. He's back in your life because he wants something from you. Your mum and sister, and probably you as well, have been wishing your dad was a different person for the last 10 years. Now he's showing up and acting like that's the case, like he wants to be a part of their lives again, and like many people offer the thing that they dream and wish for, your mum and sis are willing to suspend their doubts and just go along with it. The reason they are so mad at you is because you are bursting the bubble of their dream with your refusal to ignore the reality of what your father has done. You can't force them not to have a relationship with him, but you can and should set boundaries for the house that you own and pay for. If you don't want him there, then they just have to visit with him elsewhere. You will respect their desire to see him, but they should also respect your desire not to see him. That is a perfectly reasonable compromise under the circumstances. Well, first of all, if you own the home, you get to decide who is allowed in. That aside, I think you are right to consider your dad selfish, and if you aren't willing to forgive him, then so be it. Just make sure that your decision is a logical one, not an emotional one, and try to prepare for when he is dead so you won't have any regrets. And now, on to the update. You guys are right. I can't force my family to accept my views of no contact with my father. I resent this man so much, I can't stand the sight of him. After I posted yesterday, I was invited to have dinner with my family. To no one's surprise, my dad and his new family were there. I picked out the 2 most expensive dishes on the menu, and we had a chat. I heard his thoughts on the matter of being an absent father, but I didn't bring up any of our hardships. My mother and sister made more attempts to make me forgive him. I did. I forgave him, but that doesn't mean that I need to have a relationship with him anymore. Again, my family protested that I'm being cruel and heartless, but I'm not. Many people survive cancer, and his lung cancer is in the early stages. I told them that I would not be present at any family events if he was there. My sister shouted at me, claiming, "He's our dad, you asshole!" Well, yes, he is, to which I replied that he needs to take over his responsibilities as a father. I told them that I had cancelled the tenancy on the house, and we need to move out by the end of this month. My sister needs to return the iPhones that are on contract, as I am cancelling those. Driving lessons will be cancelled, gym membership will be cancelled, subscription services will be cancelled, and everything else that I pay for. Those are Dad's responsibilities now. I ate my dinner and left them with the bill as a little act of petty revenge. I have been staying with my girlfriend and have not answered any texts and calls from them. I need a break. I'm done. I'm done taking over Dad's role. I'm done with the financial responsibilities or acting as the parent. I'm 25 and I need to live my own life now. I don't think this will burn bridges. It's just a wake-up call for them. And edit, I'm not going to ghost or abandon them. They need to become independent now. And I'm reading all the comments. I know I've acted like a jerk. I just need some time to collect my thoughts. I might update later. In the comments, I have so much respect for you. I can understand all too well the pain of having a parent abandon you, and I can't imagine the added pain of your mother turning to alcohol, only adding to the financial burden. It's harsh, but you have worked hard to support your mother and sibling when it is not your responsibility. If he wants the title and respect back, then he can step up to the plate and fill the father role completely. F him. It sounds like he's only come back because he was diagnosed with cancer. And OP replies, "It should never have been my responsibility. I didn't work out of love for my family or some sort of charity, it was out of desperation. We were so close to being put into the foster care system. Our lives would have turned out so much worse." You're a champ, bro. It's easy for them to say crap because seems like you took care of them. Proud to be the same species as you, man. This It is so easy for them to go, "It wasn't so bad." It wasn't so bad because you took on the role of parent and pseudo-husband to your family. Man. The fact that you did everything for them and they're still treating you like a POS shows what entitled assholes they are. Legit, dude, kudos. You bloody raised a family before you were 25. Most adults couldn't even take on that responsibility. Your family are ready to forgive him because they didn't do crap to make up the slack. You did. Your mother could have done it instead of spending your money on booze. I'm glad you're taking no crap from your ungrateful family and bailed. They didn't know how good they had it with their free iPhones. What ungrateful shits. Your mother can make a claim for back child support now that she knows where your dad lives. You might want to call a lawyer. It does not matter that he has cancer, the money is owed. And OP replies, "It doesn't really matter. That's her choice. It's too late for the child support payments to be of any use. He's not well off and he can barely sustain his new family. My wife is 30. Her mom just started getting paid for over a decade of back-due child support plus interest. Finally was able to stick her deadbeat bio father with the bill. My mother-in-law has just been giving the child support money directly to her kids since the money wasn't around to help them as a kid. Now it's helping them as adults. It could be worth the consideration. This guy's probably going to be drowning in medical debt though. You can't squeeze blood out of a stone. Well, maybe he's got a nice life insurance policy that will cover it when he kicks the bucket. My mum had an affair 18 years ago. I, 18 male, am the product of it. My dad just informed me of all of this and told me he will not pay for my college while my siblings got their college experience paid by our dad. Pretty much the title. I have no idea how to process all of this, and I'm completely unprepared for what lies ahead. Both my older brother and sister went to the same college. My brother graduated 2 years ago. My sister is set to graduate in 2 years. Both had their college paid by our dad. Dad paid all their college expenses, including rent, food, their cars, pocket money, you name it. My brother has a job now, his own place, lives together with his fiancée, and has his life together. My sister already has a good paying job, and my dad still pays for almost everything for her. I got accepted to the same college, which was always the plan, and was looking forward to talking with my parents about the next steps and asking them to help me the same way they did for my siblings. I always assumed they had money put aside for my college the way they had for my siblings. Instead, I was met with a story about my mum's cheating, how I'm the result of her cheating, and how my dad is not willing to support me anymore moving forward. Dad told me that my mum had 18 years to let me know and then to prepare me for the future. But obviously she never did. He said that it was never his place to say anything since I'm not his son, and didn't want to interfere with mum's parenting. Apparently my grandparents know I'm not dad's biological son, but they haven't bothered to tell me anything either. My siblings had no idea, and they are as surprised as I am because there was never a hint of anything being off. I might be naive, but I always thought that I had a great relationship with my dad. We go to see sports together, we go fishing together, he tutored me when I had difficulties with math, as dad is an engineer, and he taught me to drive. I never got a hint that he stores resentment towards me. I mean, he gave me my name, and has explained what my name means. He was very proud of it. It's a story that he tells from time to time. He likes to talk about stuff like that about me. My mum has never said a word about anything, and apparently she was supposed to have the talk with me, but she never did. I feel abandoned and unprepared for what lies ahead. I'm not even sure that I'll be able to go to college anymore. I always assumed my parents will pay for it. I never had a job, and I'm not sure what job I can do to even support me through college. I have no idea how to apply for loans. All my mum has done is cry and apologize, but nothing of substance. She has no idea how to help me. I don't even know if I'm welcomed home anymore. It's all up in the air. I feel shame leaving my room, and if I'll be asked to move out, I don't know where to go. I don't have any savings. I have maybe $400 put together. I am angry at my mum. I am confused about where I stand with my dad. There is a man out there who is my father that never wanted to have anything to do with me. I feel rejected, and I have no idea what to do to fix this situation. Does anyone have any idea what to do here? Do I apologize to my dad? What do I say to him? I don't know. I've been stuck in my room these past few days, reading and browsing Reddit, and I have no idea what to do. In the comments, just out of curiosity, did they ever get a genetics test? Did they know 100% that he is not your father? OP says, I don't know, but Dad seemed pretty sure of it, and by how my mum reacted and reacts right now, I suppose they know it to be true for sure. I would push for a test anyway, to be honest. Seriously, get that DNA test. If your parents won't help with doing their own, ask your siblings. The devastation will be reinforced substantially if the original theory gets proven, but yep, sounds like the safe option. If the test proves they were related all along, if anything, it works out even worse. Mother's secret is out, father was willing to disown son at the drop of a hat. No happy families after this one either way. At least if it was an affair, there was some meaning to the fallout. I like the word OP used. Abandoned, unprepared. This is breaking my heart. First, OP, I'm sorry you're going through this. It's a terrible situation to be in, let alone being 18 and on the cusp of adulthood. That said, regardless of a DNA test, you have to grow up now. There is no other way to succeed through this. This entails you making a plan for your current and future life. First thing I'd focus on is income. You need an independent means of income to live off. Then budget and forecast your needs moving forward whilst studying. I'd urge you to study regardless of the outcome. It's probably the best way forward for you. Your expectation, though, that your college degree will be paid for is now moot. If your mum can help you in any small way, then accept it. Ditto your siblings. Right now, you need help. Financially, a place to crash just until you get on your feet. As to your father, I'd cut him. Even if he turns out to be your bio dad, that sort of decision bodes to a man's character, not his genetics. You don't need that in your life. I understand the biological ties driving his decision, but that sword cuts both ways. If he does renege, I personally wouldn't accept his money. My sense of self is way too high to allow someone who'd give up on me so easily. Plan carefully. Use the help offered to you, and you'll learn a lot from this experience, not just about yourself, but those closest to you too. Remember too that it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility to make the most from it. Godspeed and good luck. And no one is standing up and having your back, OP? OP replies, I tried talking with Mum, but she's not really talking with me. She starts crying and leaves the room. I have tried. I haven't tried talking with Dad because I don't know what else he has to say to me, and I'm scared about this. Like, will he kick me out, etc. I read some comments here about cutting my phone out, my health insurance, scary stuff. I will talk with my sister and brother later today and see what they have to say, if they have any opinion or can help me in any way. I don't think Dad told anyone yet that I know. And now, onto the update. The reaction to my original post put an uncomfortable amount of pressure on me to write this update. I'm not sure if that's what you want to hear, but things are more or less back to a normal state if you consider other events. Unfortunately, my grandpa died at the beginning of this week, and I am still processing it. I did manage to talk with both my mum and dad, and I know where I now stand in relation with them, as well as my siblings. I'm not sure I would have had the courage to say what I had to say if not for the amount of help and advice in the comments. I think it's safe to say both my parents love me, and what happened 2 weeks ago was an overreaction to a fight between my parents. It makes me uncomfortable knowing I'm not aware of my own environment, but a stranger in the comments can tell me what's happening in my life with only a few lines of text from my side. A lot of comments were spot on about what is happening in my life. I have so far went through 40%, I estimate, of the comments, but I've given up. There are far too many for me to keep up with. The conclusion is that I am definitely going to college, it will be the college that I've always wanted to go to, and I will have the same experience as my siblings. The money to pay for all of this already exists. My family is not going bankrupt as suggested. My dad just had a mental breakup with all the issues around my grandpa and his fight with my mum. Even if my dad would have went through with his decision, my grandma let me know my grandpa left me and my siblings a sum that we will have to split between the three of us, but enough to put me through college. What started the entire scandal was poor timing on my part. My parents had just had a fight, and then I showed up saying, "Hey, pay for my college." My parents were talking about us, their children, and Mum said something to the lines of, "To think, you wanted to split up when I came back pregnant," or something like that. I was not there, this is what she told me. I guess Dad was talking about how proud he was of his children, and Mum wanted to express her gratitude for Dad raising me as his own, and Dad took it as the affair was the best decision that I ever made, or something like that. And their fight escalated from there, and Mum told Dad something like, "What makes you think any of them are yours?" Yeah, it went downhill from there fast. Shortly after that, my dumb face showed up, and here I am. Dad and Mum have since made up. Mum is still a mess. Dad is not handling my grandpa's passing away too well either. I did talk with my siblings, and my sister raised a storm and wrote it here while blasting my parents on the phone. My brother was calmer, but made his feelings known in no uncertain terms as well once he got back home. My grandpa passing away sort of kept spirits calm, I guess, and shifted the focus to dealing with that. Reading the comments was a mind-opening experience. I felt unprepared for the world out there. Many have asked how I had no idea to apply for loans or grants. Well, in my defense, when you go year after year after year, knowing that you have nothing to worry about, that your college is as good as paid for already, you don't really have to worry about anything else. Of course, I knew there are loans and other things students have to be aware of, but it didn't apply to me. I went from, "I am going to college, can't wait," to, "You are not my son, and I will not pay for your college," in less than 24 hours. Others have been prepared for this. At the very least, they knew they had to get a loan or get a job, look for a place to live, and so on. But for me, though, it was a sudden change in reality. Going through the comments, I managed to put a list together with various tips and tricks: what jobs are available for students, how to find a place to live, how to get a credit card, a bank account, a cell phone plan, and so on. Really good stuff that I think, even after the return to normal, will help me. My parents have been called more names than they go by, and that was uncomfortable to read, and I haven't even read all the comments. I can't even imagine what else lies in the comments just waiting. Dad is very sorry and apologetic about his reaction and behavior. I understand his reaction, but I still feel hurt by it. I understand he was not in the best place of mind, but I can't control my feelings either. We will be alright, and this hasn't irreparably damaged our relationship. Mum hasn't handled everything all that well, but she's coming around, and she answered some more questions for me. When Mum had an affair years ago and got pregnant with me, my parents started divorce. Mum moved in with a man that she had an affair with, but after a few months that guy decided that he wants nothing to do with it. He kicked Mum out, and she had nowhere to go. So my grandparents took her in because she was still the mother of their grandkids. Mum and Dad then got back together. After a lot of work, Dad took me as his own, and that's my life since then. The man who is my natural father is not in the picture anymore. Dad didn't really know who he is, and Mum hasn't heard or seen him ever since. He was fully aware that my mum was pregnant with his child, but I guess he had more important things to do. But it doesn't sound like he was about to cure world hunger. She met him in a bar, not at a fundraiser. And I don't feel the need to know any more about who he is. I thought about the matter the last 2 weeks, since I've been aware of everything, and haven't really felt a desire to know who he is, where he is, if he is still alive, or if I have other siblings out there. I was suggested to go and buy a DNA kit from 23andMe. Maybe I can find him that way, but I think I'll avoid doing this specifically so I don't find him or he finds me. As far as I care, I have a mum and dad and a brother and a sister, and that is my family. Moving forward, I do plan on getting a job and becoming more independent, but not in an attempt to distance myself from my family, but to feel like I would not be lost in the world if my family suddenly disappears. My mum admits that I've been babied way more than my siblings, and that they should have prepared me more for what's coming next. I did learn where I stand with my family, and it's safe to say that I am loved and I have options. I thought I was isolated, but my world is wider than I thought. Grandparents, siblings, my aunt, my cousins, all have my back. I think my parents are human, and they make mistakes, and even though this was not their greatest moment, I think I will look at everything as nothing more than a weak moment in an otherwise wonderful relationship. Thank you. In the comments, OP, glad to hear this worked out. Sometimes people say mean things on Reddit, but at the end of the day, lots of people are just trying to get through life the best they can. Your last paragraph is spot on. It's a sobering experience when you realize your parents are winging things just like everyone else. They are human, imperfect, screw up, hurt the ones they love, same as all of us. I'm sorry that you had to find out the way you did. That experience would have sucked, but hopefully you all move on from there and keep loving each other. Good luck. And OP replies, this is what my sister said. But that didn't stop her from making her feelings on the matter very clear to my parents. I love my sister. My brother too, but he is more calculated and tempered. My sister is lightning in a bottle, but nobody put her in the bottle. She went there of her own volition, but when she decides to open the lid up a little, oh my god, it's a sight. May I ask what your siblings said? OP replies, they voiced their displeasure with both my parents in no uncertain terms. My sister said that it would be embarrassing not having her parents at her wedding, whenever that will be. My mum did not like hearing this. But it felt like my siblings were the parents and my parents were the children. I'd like to point out that both my siblings cut their out-of-town trips short and came home earlier than planned. Sure, my grandpa passing away had a role in that, but they definitely were not happy about my parents, that's for sure. I'm just glad that it all worked out, OP. Without knowing your family and situation properly, it sounds a lot like your mum is a real asshole. That's even without the cheating. I'm glad that it worked out, and I hope your mum realizes how lucky she is to have your dad. OP replies, I don't think my mum is an asshole, while at the same time admitting that she sounds like the source of the events here. However, I was not there when they were fighting. I don't know what was said exactly and by whom. I think they each built on top of each other until the fight was feeding off itself, if that makes sense. My mum is not an asshole and has been a great mother, and my dad has been a great father as well, and I would have no reason to sing their praise considering how they handled this situation. This was just a bump in the road, and I hope everyone will be able to gain some perspective out of the whole experience. My parents seem to be fine right now, and Mum is very supportive to my father right now, who hasn't handled the passing of my grandpa very well. Our next post is titled, I walked in on my son having sex with my brother's wife. I, 44 female, walked in on my son, 18 male, having sex with my in-law, 34 female, brother's wife, in a cabin, and I think they've been having sex for a while. My brother, 37 male, moved in with us in February with his wife and 2 children. My husband, 44 male, and I have a big house on a farm. My husband is a farmer, and with everyone working from home, we thought that it would be a good chance to stay together as a family and for my nieces to spend some time on the farm. I have 3 children, and all of them live with us. The oldest is 18 male, and the other 2 are 16 female and 13 female. On the day my brother arrived, I went to buy groceries with my son, and he went to the pharmacy to get his gym supplements, and I bought the food. I saw condoms in my son's plastic bag when we arrived at the house, 2 packs with 36 condoms each, so 72 in total. I didn't think anything of it, as I thought that he'd gotten a girlfriend and wanted to be safe. Everything was fine, and everyone got along, and my sister-in-law and son would go on an early run around the farm. Everything seemed normal until last month, when they left on their run, but I was up baking, and I never saw them make any rounds around the farm, which was weird. I asked about it, and they said they decided to hit the road. I thought nothing of this, as everything seemed normal. My sister-in-law and son seemed to have a very good bond. Yesterday, I was coming from a friend's house early in the morning, and the sun wasn't up yet, and it was a little dark, but I saw that the cabin we have in the farm was open, and the light was on. I thought maybe one of the employees had forgotten to lock up. So I went to close the door and switch off the light, and as I got closer, I heard people having sex, and I took a peek, and it was my son and sister-in-law having sex. I didn't confront them, I was so in shock. I still haven't told anyone what I saw, and I don't know what to do. Should I confront them? Should I tell my brother? Should I tell my husband? I'm so confused. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I'm sure they've been having sex for a while from the condoms. My son was always at the house and never brought over a girlfriend. The morning runs around the farm. Do they really go on a run or do they have sex? The close relationship. In the comments, I grew up on a farm, and I'm just going to give you the advice no one here has yet. Hide the guns. Lock them up in a safe if you have one, and put the key in a new place. No matter how you handle this, it's gonna be bad. OP replies, I know, this will be bad. I'm even thinking of sending my son away before telling my brother. Honestly, that's probably for the best. Do not disclose where he's going either. Yup. Tell husband first, and then brother when son and sister-in-law plus kids, if possible, is out of the house. Come up with a plan with your husband to get them not living in your house anymore. Get a therapist for your son. No matter how consensual this was, he's still young, and this was a trusted family member who went after him. The months of lies alone will make him question his own integrity and could lead to issues. Lock up the weapons. I'm not saying anything about your brother at all, but desperate people do desperate things. You never know how anyone involved will react. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. Betrayal makes people act in ways they never could have considered prior to experiencing this type of pain. Everything this brother has ever known is about to come crashing down around his head. She needs to hide the guns before any conversation is had, and the husband needs to know so he can manage the brother's rage. Yikes. Pleasant Pastures is about to implode, unfortunately. Tell your husband immediately. The two of you can decide how to handle the situation in general, and more specifically, how to handle this with your son. You have to tell your brother. You're the one that saw what was happening. Do not talk to your sister-in-law. She will likely be dishonest. Let your brother decide how he wants to handle her. And now, on to the update. I first want to thank everyone for all the advice I got from my original post. I'm sorry for not replying to any comments. I think I only replied to one comment. My head was all over the place. I'll try to keep this update short. As was suggested by many of the comments, I decided to tell my husband first and proceed from there. My husband lost it. He first thought that this was just a joke. We talked about the issue, and we decided that we should first talk to our son before telling my brother. We confronted our son with what I saw. He already knew what was going on as he saw my Reddit post and put two and two together. He didn't deny anything, and he confessed. He told us him and sister-in-law have been having sex since February last year. He was 17 at the time. My son said that it started on sister-in-law's birthday party that he attended. They got drunk and had sex in a bathroom, and they have been meeting at hotels ever since and sneaking off at family gatherings. After my son's confession, my husband just lost it and told my son to leave the house and go to our condo in town as he didn't want to see him in front of him at this moment. When my son was gone, my husband stormed into my brother's room and told my brother everything. Sister-in-law was not in the house at that moment. My brother lost it and packed his stuff and took the kids and left. He asked where my son had gone, and he said that he wanted to teach him a lesson. We didn't tell him, and he eventually left. Sister-in-law didn't return. I think my brother might have called her, or my son warned her, and she's afraid to come back. Her things are still in the house. In all the screaming and shouting, my daughters heard everything and are devastated that their family might be ruined, they miss their brother, and are afraid that my husband won't ever let him in the house again. My husband hates all forms of infidelity to the core and has always drilled this into our two eldest children that they must never cheat on anyone or be in a relationship with someone in a relationship. I know I did nothing wrong in this, but how will I ever look my brother in the eye again? He won't answer any calls or texts. My husband said that I should give him some time to heal. My son has left the condo because he is afraid of what my brother will do to him and is now hiding at a friend's, and he won't tell us which friend. No word yet on sister-in-law. Info. Sister-in-law was the one who initiated sex the first time my son and her slept together. She was the one booking hotel rooms, buying my son's dinners and lunches. My son was even receiving an allowance from her. In the comments, I have a feeling this friend is sister-in-law maybe? They might be somewhere together, but obviously he could just be worried about someone finding out where he is and then coming to beat his ass. But ultimately, your brother-in-law's biggest issue should be with his wife. She took advantage of a teenager, and she kept it up for so long. The fact your son won't tell you where he's at and nobody knows where your sister-in-law is has me thinking that they may be together. OP replies, "This is a possibility. I even suspect my son might have warned sister-in-law because I called all the parents of his friends and none have seen him." Why do I feel like the son was being groomed by the sister-in-law here? Why is no blame headed her way? Because he was definitely groomed, and she managed to skip town while the worst of the fallout was happening. We can only hope that karma will catch up to her. Am I the arsehole for the way I reacted to my parents' open relationship and no longer paying rent? I, 18 male, live with my parents. I've been paying rent since I was 16, since my parents would be financially screwed if I wasn't helping out. A few weeks ago, my parents told me they are seeing someone and that their relationship is open. I didn't give a crap since it wasn't affecting me up until this guy they are seeing started staying over nights. He treats this place like it's his, tries to tell me what to do, and eats all of my food. I tried talking to my parents about it, but they just said that it's their house, so they can have who they want here. I really tried to put up with it until this guy tried to discipline my dog. I flipped my crap. It was most certainly not the way you discipline a dog, and I'm already sick of his crap. I yelled the house down, calling him all sorts like dumb piece of crap freeloader, and some more vile crap that probably is way too screwed up to say here. My parents rushed to see what was going on and tell me off, but instead I told them off, calling them terrible parents, that they can shove their house up their ass, and that I'm not going to pay rent to live in a house that I have no say in. That dumb C word can cover my rent. I've since been staying with my boyfriend. My parents recently texted me asking me for my rent. I then told them to F off and reminded them of what I said. I feel like I'm not wrong to pay rent anymore, but I did go so overboard with my words. Am I the arsehole? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. Parents' new boy toy has been staying over, acting like it's his house. I flipped my crap, and I refuse to live there and pay rent anymore. I'm feeling a little bit of conflict here because there's two different things going on at the same time. From what you're giving me here, it doesn't sound like your parents are asking you to apologize for your words. And if they haven't pointed that out as an issue, I don't know why you're asking if you're an asshole here. Clearly, they're expecting you to accept their new adventurous lifestyle. Why can't they accept a few adventurous words from you in the process? Are you the asshole for not paying rent in a house that you're not currently residing in because you're staying out of house? I don't think so. Especially given the circumstances, I think you are unwelcome in your own home. So I'm going to go with not the asshole for this one. Your parents have seemingly created a hostile environment, and I don't blame you for acting the way you have. In the comments, not the asshole. They've turned you into a paying tenant at 16, and I'm glad that you're out. Do you have your dog with you? That would have been the final straw for me as well. OP replies, yeah, I have my dog with me. We're attached at the hip unless I'm going to work. Not the arsehole. They can't expect you to pay rent if you are no longer living with them. In some ways, this may be the best thing that ever happened to you. It sounds like they haven't been the best parents and have been milking you financially for housing expenses and food. Better to be on your own and only responsible for supporting yourself. This right here. Yeah, you may have overreacted a bit with your language, but please don't feel guilty at all about moving out and your parents' financial situation. Even if the freeloader wasn't in the picture and hadn't tried to abuse your dog, your decision would have been perfectly reasonable to move out and find a new place just because you wanted your own space. But given everything that's actually happened, it is actually for the best for your and your dog's mental health to have actually moved out. Not the asshole at all. And edit, I actually agree with the comments below that say OP didn't overreact. They're Australian. Swearing is expected. Source, am Australian. I've never seen a post so explicitly Aussie without mentioning OP is Aussie. You want to get more Aussie? How about the bloody Socceroos beating Denmark? How's that? And now, onto the update. So it's been just over a week since I posted. Thank you guys for your judgments and advice. I have blocked my parents on everything and have gone no contact. After just over a week, I already feel like a new person without them in my lives. My boyfriend has been my rock throughout all of this. I was a mess of tears and anger the first few days, and he's the one who got me through it. I'm currently staying with him, renting, but we have been looking for our own place together since the lease on the current place runs out soon. I went to my GP and got a mental health plan done up, so I should be seeing a therapist soon, free of charge. It's not a huge update, but I'm doing a lot better in so little time from just cutting them out of my life. I'm looking forward to the future. In the comments, I'm really happy to hear that it's working out for you and that you're out of that toxic situation. Well done. Phew, good for you and your titanium spine. Sometimes when a bad environment has become your normal, and you then suddenly move into a better, healthier environment, it can be shocking and almost euphoric. Enjoy your new life, and well done. How's the puppy doing? Hoping it came with you. OP responds, he's doing great. He loves the yard. The one in the old place was decent, but this one's much bigger and near a nice bush trail that we can walk him. I'm so glad that you got him away from them too. It's always hardest at the beginning, but it'll get easier, and you're already seeing your mental health get better away from them. Don't downplay this. This is a huge update. It's a big step to move out and cut contact, but it's good that you're putting yourself first. Kudos to your boyfriend being there for you. And now, on to the final update. Me and my boyfriend are now in a new place that we are renting together. We just moved in a week ago, so have been pretty busy. It feels good to share a house as equals with the man that you love. My dog has settled in nicely, and seems like even he is doing better out of that environment. He especially loves living with my boyfriend. As for my parents, I haven't heard from them at all since I have their numbers blocked, and they don't know where I live. But I did hear from some family that their boyfriend ran out one night, and they woke up to a lot of their valuables and cash gone. Who could have seen that one coming? And as for me, I've been seeing a therapist. It's been going well. I've been put on antidepressants as well, since I've been diagnosed with depression, a few other things, and comorbid PTSD. I'm still obviously a work in progress, but I feel like it's a very good start to getting better. The first few sessions were hard though, and I had to have my boyfriend with me during them, but it's gotten easier to talk to my therapist, and I no longer need my boyfriend there. For once, I'm looking forward to the future. I hope OP's parents stay the hell away from him and get the help they need, but mostly stay away. If they manage to get the help they need, they should stay away, because I think he has suffered enough. If they don't get the help they need, all the more they should stay away. Our next post is titled, My wife, 53 female, is not okay with me, 55 male, paying for part of my ex-wife's daughter's wedding. My ex-wife and I were high school sweethearts, and we married as soon as we graduated. We stayed together for 5 years and had a daughter. We'll call her Kara. The relationship wasn't working, so we split and my ex came out as a lesbian. My ex later had another daughter, Hannah, via donor. I ended up becoming a father to Hannah. But my ex didn't ask me to. We were on very friendly terms and already co-parenting Kara, so it just came naturally. I met my now wife 3 years later, and she was very understanding of the situation, and she took the role of stepmother to both kids. We also have a son. Hannah is getting married next year, and my ex and her partner and I all will be paying for the wedding. We talked about this before including my wife, and everyone was fine with it. But now my wife tells me she doesn't like the idea of me paying for the wedding of a child who isn't really mine. She thinks that money should go towards our son's education instead. I already saved some money for our son that should cover him for a couple of semesters. He can always work part-time or apply for financial aid as well. But still, my wife is upset and thinks I've taken care of her enough, and it's time to basically exit her life. I'm shocked because she seemed to absolutely adore Hannah, but I guess she never really considered her family. She made it known that she wouldn't care if it was Kara because she's my actual blood daughter. But I consider Hannah my daughter, and my ex's partner has also been a parent to Kara, including financially, despite no relation. So it's not one-sided. Edit, I'm putting in $1,200, and so is my ex and her partner. The money is coming from my separate account. Any other expenses will be covered by Hannah and her fiancé. They aren't having anything extravagant. I have way more saved for my son. If him or Kara get married, I will put in for them too. Now in the comments, all of this over $1,200? I thought that it was like $25K since she wanted you to use it for your son's education. Just give them the money and move on. Using it for their son's education was really just a lame excuse. She just doesn't want her husband to pay anything because she isn't blood. OP's wife sounds awful. Agreed, he sounds like a wonderful man being there for his kids, and the wife sounds bitter and hateful. Blood makes you related, loyalty makes you family. Here's the deal. Hannah is your daughter, blood doesn't mean crap, being present and involved does. This was established before you were even married. Therefore, helping with her wedding is not only acceptable, but absolutely appropriate as you are her father. I adopted my daughter and have 2 boys of my own. I love her just as much as my boys. Well, probably more, because daughters always hold a special place in a father's heart. I think you need to have a candid talk with your wife about this and how important it is for you. This, being present and involved, is what matters. In the words of Yondo, just because he's your father doesn't mean he's your daddy. And now, on to the update. First off, I am definitely giving 1.2k plus a little extra, and it's coming from my separate personal account. Secondly, my wife was involved in the original discussion about the money. Sorry I didn't make that clear enough in the original post. I've had the chance to sit down and talk to my wife, and it turns out this whole thing isn't so much about Hannah, but the fact that we do not have a daughter, or rather a living daughter. We had another child after our son, and it was a girl, but she was stillborn. It was heartbreaking for the both of us. We tried again, but she miscarried early on. She said paying for the wedding is a reminder that the only daughters I will ever have are by my ex. She is sad that she will never get to help plan our daughter's wedding or see me walk her down the aisle. She brought up other milestones and mother-daughter things too, like prom and going shopping together, getting their nails done, etc. She doesn't really think that I need to exit Hannah's life, but she does think that it's deeply unfair that Hannah gets to experience having me as a father while our blood daughter doesn't. I understand where she's coming from, and so I've been spending much more time with her and our son. I have a trip for us planned after New Year's, and I bought them both gifts that they've been wanting for a while. I'm just going to continue trying to be the best husband and father that I can and make her and our family feel valued. My relationship with Hannah and Kara is just as important, but I don't want anyone to feel less than or jealous. In the comments, OP, she needs grief counseling. Thank you for being the dad that I didn't have. My stepmom tried to replace me with another daughter, always complained about not having a shopping buddy and girl stuff. I appreciate you sticking up for your kid. This woman doesn't sound like she's trying to replace anybody. She's experienced a tragedy and didn't get proper help and admitted that she was wrong. While it's tragic and heartbreaking that your wife lost the opportunity to have a daughter together, she really cannot hold that against you and your daughter with your previous wife. Your daughter is no less your daughter because of your later tragedy. Surely your wife understands this. You sound like a wonderful, loving, and considerate man. This is clearly a difficult situation, and I'm sorry for all the loss and hurt. I hope everyone in your life knows how loved and cared for they are, and that Hannah has a wonderful day. I hope things have been well for OP and his wife. Grief over a child lost is horrific. Dude's a great-ass dad, and I hope he managed to work his way through this with his family. Ugh, it really is horrific. I completely understand where his wife is coming from. You don't just grieve the child you lost, but every tiny milestone too. But 2 separate issues, no? It's not like, if I can't have mum-daughter moments, then Hannah can't too? It could be incredibly hard for her to see her partner doing the things that she only wishes she could do with her daughter. Stillbirth and pregnancy loss are still very taboo subjects. I lost my son 7.5 months ago, the night before his C-section due to a blood clot. She really needs help from a good grief counselor who specializes in this kind of loss. Support groups are helpful as well. This could be very hard for her to do. Hell, she may even want to be more involved but can't due to there being triggering processes or events around. It's an incredibly volatile path to navigate without outside help. I got into therapy days after he died. I found the baby loss community. I'm doing quote-unquote good for where I am in my journey. Some people will never get over their loss. Her husband could use it too. The fathers are very much forgotten, and focus is mainly on the mother's loss. him just glossing over it and giving gifts, etc. to distract from his own grief is one possibility. Our next post is titled, "My white husband confessed to me that he enjoys race play fantasies. I'm black and my husband is white. Yesterday, he admitted to me that recently he started to like something called race play, which means that he has sexual fantasies about racist situations. To be honest, I still don't know a lot about it, but an example that he gave me is that he has a fantasy about being a plantation owner while I'm a slave that he keeps as a mistress. I can't stand to look at him anymore because all I feel is disgust. He knows that I've been in relationships where I was objectified in the past, and I know that people can't control their sexual interest, but I can't separate this image of my husband being attracted to racist situations from the man that I fell in love with and married. He asked me if I'm willing to give it a chance, but I told him that I didn't want to, and now he's sleeping in the guest room because we had a fight about me not being supportive. I think this might end my marriage, but I love him and I want to work through it somehow." In the comments, not wanting to do something that you were really uncomfortable with doesn't mean you were not being supportive. So in his mind, if you were supporting him, you would just go along with his fantasy, even if it's distasteful and disturbing to you? OP replies, "Yes, he does want me to go along with it. He thinks that I might like it if I give it a chance, but I don't want to. I'm glad you're honoring your boundaries and not doing it." OP says, "Thank you. He is still mad at me, but I refuse to do this." Is he mad that you are free and have a choice? How deep does this resentment go? Expecting you to process this already is a big ask. Being mad that you have free will is suspicious. OP says, "Yes, he is mad that I'm not being supportive of him." Supportive? FFS, I am so mad for you. I think it's disgusting that he brought it up and shameful that he's now trying to make you feel bad about it. That is not support, that's compliance. The fact that you're trying to still communicate with him is support. You already are doing that. He wants you to have no boundaries, which is suspicious. You will feel much worse for giving this a chance. OP replies, "I know. He thinks that I might like it if I give it a chance, but even the idea of it makes me sick. I have no intention of trying it." As a black man who has watched family members fetishize white women without actually respecting them in any way, shape, or form, you need to ask yourself a very simple question. Does he respect you? Remove the race play aspect and look at the whole picture. I bring this up because a lot of those who fetishize someone because of race or ethnicity, a lot of the times don't actually respect the partner. Case in point, obsession with Japanese women by some white men, obsession of white women by some black men, obsession with black men by some white women, fetishizing Latinos regardless of gender by black and white people, "I puppy" stereotypes or strong Latin lover stereotypes, and so on and so forth. That, and let's just be real, who the F wants to roleplay as an effing slave with the loaded past that America has? Back up to the post, we have an update. I talked to my husband over lunch. I did what some of you suggested and asked him where he got the idea from and how he started to like it. Most of you were right. He discovered it on a porn site and began watching more porn videos featuring it. He told me that it's been about 2 months since he discovered it. Then he asked me again if I would give it a chance for him. When I told him that I was uncomfortable with it, he got upset again and asked why I wouldn't support him. He even offered that we could try it once, and then if I didn't like it, we wouldn't have to do it again. But when I said no, he got frustrated and we started to argue. He reminded me of all the things that he has done for me and how much he always supports me, and then called me manipulative. He is now left with the car to go spend time with his friends. I've been crying for the past 15 minutes, and I don't know what else to do. Update 2. A couple of commenters have asked about it since the first update a couple of hours ago. I am now trying to see if one of my friends will let me stay with them for a day or two so that I can clear my head. I am no contact with most of my family, and the family members that I still talk to live several states away, so staying with family is not an option. And my husband owns the house, so I can't change the locks or tell him not to come home. Update 3. It is currently the middle of the night here. I left our house and am now staying with a good friend, and I will be staying here until this evening. I've been here for a few hours now. I did not see my husband before my friend picked me up, but I left him a voicemail to tell him that I needed space to clear my head. I also did what some of you suggested and said in the voicemail that I felt pressured by him into doing something that I didn't want to do. He has since heard the voicemail and has called and texted begging me to come home. He wants to come pick me up from her house in the morning, but I said no. He accused me of abandoning him right before Thanksgiving, and his best friend has also texted me to tell me that I'm a bad wife for treating my husband like this when he pays for everything and he supports my lifestyle. To be honest, it made me cry more than what my husband said. I don't think that I'll be able to get any sleep tonight after this. This is not part of the update, but I have received lots of questions through comments and direct messages, so I'll answer a few of them here. 1. I do not know if my husband has a porn addiction. To be honest, I'm not sure how to tell if someone has a porn addiction. 2. I am 25 and my husband is 33. We've been together for 3, almost 4 years, but we've only been married for 1 year. My husband is the sole earner in our house, I am a stay-at-home wife and I do not have any income. 4. We do not have any children together, but we were planning to start a family next year. I want children, but I'm going to put it on hold until I figure things out, of course. 5. We have done domination in the bedroom before, so this porn thing didn't awaken that kink in him. 6. All of my husband's ex-girlfriends are white. Aside from 2 guys that I dated in high school and my husband, all of the men that I've dated have been Hispanic or black. And 7. Yes, we live in the South, but I don't feel comfortable disclosing what state. And now onto an update/follow-up. My husband is accusing me of ruining Thanksgiving because I won't come home to host for the family. Hello and happy Thanksgiving to all that celebrates. I apologize if this post seems like a ramble, but I've had a very difficult last few days, so my thoughts are a little incoherent. I was pointed in the direction of this subreddit by a user who private messaged me because she thought that I would benefit from it. To be honest, I am worried about ruining Thanksgiving. His family loves to celebrate holidays, and Thanksgiving is his mother's favorite. I host and cook for every holiday except for Independence Day and Easter. I know that his siblings are not going to care, but it's his parents that I'm worried about. I have a good relationship with them aside from their nosiness, but they're traditional, and I worry that if I don't come home and host, it'll strain our relationship. My husband thinks that I'm going to ruin the entire holiday if I refuse to come home since he can't cook, and he thinks that it'll be cruel of me to let his family come to our home expecting dinner when there will be nothing to eat because of me. Update: while I was preparing dinner with my friend, my husband called me. His family has arrived, and his parents aren't happy with his explanation about why I'm not there. He didn't tell them the truth, and I don't know what he said, but apparently the excuse that he gave them was not a good one because they blame me for it. His mother has taken over making all of the food, and instead of turkey, she'll be reheating some leftover chicken for them to eat. Apparently, she scolded him for fighting with me during a holiday when it's supposed to be about spending time with family and reflecting on why you love them. He sounded like he was about to cry while talking. He asked me if I was happy that his mother and father's event was ruined because I wanted to be spiteful and hurt him instead of just putting my feelings aside and spending time with him and his family. And he said that his friend was right about me being a bad wife because I stooped low enough to embarrass him to his family by ghosting them on a holiday. Then he told me that he's coming to get me at 7:30 and hung up. To be honest, I feel awful for making him cry. I know that I should be happy that his parents are supportive, even if he didn't tell them the real reason. But my husband rarely cries. I feel terrible for hurting him like that. I think that I messed up by not going home, but I don't know what to do. Edit: not an update, but please stop suggesting that I go to my family. I am no contact with most of my family, including my parents, for a reason that I do not feel comfortable disclosing. The family members that I am in contact with are more distant relatives. And before any of you ask, no, my husband does not have anything to do with why I'm no contact with my parents. I have been no contact with them since before we entered a relationship, and he has never met them. In the comments, reading posts like these always makes me sad and infuriated. This poor woman is so blinded by her husband's manipulation tactics. She feels so bad that he was crying. Meanwhile, he wasn't crying because he realized he screwed up. He was crying because she didn't come home and cook effing dinner for his family. Reddit God, please don't let this woman go back. He is literally making her his slave. According to her comments, she's been back at home with him for almost a full week. This is definitely one of those situations where you dearly wish you could make someone leave their horrid, abusive partner. In this case, the reason for that starts with the whole race place thing, but oh my god, they most definitely do not end there. My heart just breaks for this poor woman. Age gap? Check. Isolated from family? Check. Lack of financial power? Check. Lies and manipulation? Check. It's the whole abuse red flag parade. She's halfway to being an actual slave for the guy. And I hope that her friend talks some sense into OP. Her husband is already treating her like a servant. He probably thinks that the race play will allow him to use the N-word freely. It's just about the only thing he hasn't done to degrade her. Porn fetish my ass. This is why he married her. Look at the way that he treats her. She cooks all the holiday meals, she doesn't work outside the home, she has no family support. He lies to his family and then blames her when his family doesn't like his lie. He knows that she's not coming home to cook for his family, but he lets them show up anyway. He doesn't make any plans to feed them, nothing to cook, no takeout, no asking anyone to help him get a meal together. And then he calls her and blames her for the consequences of his choices. He doesn't want a wife. He wants a slave. He's 33 and she's 25, and they've been together for 4 years. He was 29 and she was 21, and he owns everything. This was always about the power dynamic. I don't care that they were both adults. She was a dipshit 21-year-old marrying a very much older man with all of the power in the relationship. And don't forget that she's no contact with most of her family. I'm sure that's a bonus for him. Smaller support system. Am I the asshole for not inviting one child from my daughter's class to a party? My husband and I have a daughter, Peyton, 7 female. Peyton goes to a small school with 20 kids in her grade. Her birthday is next month, and we sent out invitations to her friends at school. We invited the whole class except one student. The student we did not invite has bullied Peyton several times. We've had meetings with the school and parents. Obviously, Peyton doesn't want this kid at her party. The other girls have called me to talk about it, saying now her daughter is crying that she was the only kid not invited and everyone at school is talking about the party. Peyton's parties are known by her classmates to be very over the top. I explained that her daughter isn't nice to my daughter and that's the reason she wasn't invited, and the mother knows this. The mother said, "I'm teaching my child to be a bully and to use her wealth to make friends." But I disagreed. The mother then asked if she had her daughter apologize and write Peyton a letter if we could reconsider. I told her that we would not, and it's become a big deal every time I see the mum. Am I the asshole? Edit for questions. Invitations were not handed out in the classroom. I handed them to parents directly. I've seen a few people ask exactly what kind of bullying has occurred, so I'll give a couple of examples from last year and this year. One time, Peyton came home crying because a little girl was so mean to her, telling her she wasn't pretty, she was too chubby, etc. Peyton has come home crying several times because the girl has told her there is no way she's a cheerleader. Peyton does cheering on weekends because she wasn't pretty. She has told Peyton that she couldn't play with the rest of the girls in the class when they were all playing jump rope at recess. The other girls told her to let Peyton play, so when it was Peyton's turn, the girl purposely got her out by not swinging the rope nicely. The teacher saw that happen. And she's called Peyton a crybaby. And this is only a couple of the incidents that happened. In the comments, not the asshole. Here's why. Your daughter has every right to feel safe at her party. This is a thing that this girl is going to miss out on, and she's upset about that. Which I guess is understandable, but here's the thing. Mum didn't offer an apology before the party. She didn't pull her kid in line before the party or when it was brought up repeatedly with the school. She is only doing it now because her kid is the victim. My main reason is because your kid deserves not to be walking on eggshells at her party. And I absolutely loathe when parents continue to put their kids in contact with their bullies and abusers. Children or not, your child deserves to feel safe. Yes, absolutely this. If that mum wants a good opportunity to be a parent, then she will see this as a teachable moment to her own kid. See? Act like an asshole to the other kids, and they won't want you around. I'm going to go out on a limb, though, and say that most of the kids who bully children are like that because their parents can't be bothered to be teaching them the damn crap that they need to learn. With all due respect, your daughter has bullied my daughter, so much so that we have had meetings with the school about it. To date, that behavior has not stopped. Your child is not welcome at the party because of her behavior. My daughter deserves to have her birthday party without having to worry that her bully is going to make fun of her or bully her in any way. I am sorry that your daughter is upset, but my responsibility is to look out for my child, not yours. Furthermore, I encourage you to take this opportunity to teach Bully that actions have consequences. Her actions led to my daughter not wanting her at this party, and reasonably so. Hopefully next year your child will have learned and grown so that they may one day be friends. But I in no way intend to push my daughter to go out of her way to be nice to someone who has only been mean to her thus far. Give people who are mean to you whatever they want at the expense of yourself. That is not a lesson that I want my daughter to learn, as I'm sure you understand. Have a lovely day. And now, onto the update. Peyton's party was today. She had so much fun. The student that was not invited did show up, but did not make it past the community gate. In our neighborhood, you have to have someone at the gate in order for people to enter. We had face painting, balloon animals, a bounce house, an obstacle course, a magic show, and character appearances. We even had a life-size Barbie box for pictures and pink everything. There was activities for the kids to do, and everything was a hit. Also, thank you to the commenter who suggested swag bags. We did have them, and the kids loved it. In the comments, Christ, the bully effing showed up? What crap parents she has. Home is Peyton's safe place. She is not obligated to allow anyone there that she doesn't want for any reason. It's nice to see her parents teaching her boundaries like this. So much less toxic than the make nice crowd. I'm glad that they live in a gated community. The bully and her family sound like they could cause trouble at the drop of a hat if given the opportunity. It kind of tells you why the kid is the way she is and what she will be like in the future, and that is just sad. I wonder if this is a money issue, if the bully is jealous of what Peyton has. It's no excuse, and Peyton can invite whoever she wants, but I feel like there is something going on, especially since Bully Mum mentioned money. OP also mentioned that it's a known thing that they throw really big parties, so potentially there is other flaunting of wealth going on. As a kid, it can be very difficult to understand how one person can seemingly have all the best stuff while you get nothing. The bully's mum needs to be doing much more to help the kid to understand. Our next post is titled, Boyfriend of 3 years just admitted to cheating. We're on vacation together. I don't know what to do. I, 30 female, have been in a seemingly happy relationship for a little over 3 years. My boyfriend, 32 male, is wonderful. We have lived together for about 2 years, rarely ever argue. We have so much in common, and honestly, he's my best friend. I love him and know that I want to marry this man. He flew down to his hometown yesterday, and I flew down this morning, and we're both catching a plane in the morning to go on vacation together for 6 days with 2 other friends of ours. Everything is paid for, and cancellations are not possible this last minute. I've been in our hotel room bawling my eyes out and dry heaving for the past 2 hours. I Ubered from the airport, and when he came down to help me with my bags, I immediately knew something was wrong. He looked like hell and was visibly nervous. Once we got into the hotel room, he started tearing up and told me that he had something to tell me, that he knows I'm going to leave him, but he can't keep a secret like that from me. He explained how he and a few of his childhood friends all went to a bar, and he ran into a girl that he went to college with. They never had sex, but did go on a few dates almost 7 years ago. She invited him and a group of other people back to her house, where they all proceeded to get drunk and do cocaine all night. I know about the occasional cocaine use, and just catch up. Basically, he and the college friend ended up having sex, and then she drove him to our hotel early this morning. He hasn't talked to her since, and he swears that it means absolutely nothing. He said that she's not even attractive and that he was just screwed up. He says it was a big mistake and is begging for my forgiveness. A huge part of me wants to ask for every last detail, but I'm scared to know that there is potentially more to this story. I don't know. I want to forgive him and enjoy our time away, but I truly don't know how. Are there such occasions where you really can't help yourself and it really was a spur-of-the-moment mistake? Or is there something hidden beneath the surface and my happy relationship has been anything but this whole time? In the comments, quote, "She's not even attractive" is such a shitty excuse, as if it would be okay by him if she was good looking. The drugs were a red flag, the cheating is a whole other thing. OP replies, "Agreed. I don't quite understand the need to point out her looks, perhaps to ease the blow of the news." Well, if that's the case, his apology was more of a means to ease his own conscience rather than reassure you. If you want to take him back, it's your call, but proceed with caution. Just because he seems remorseful about it doesn't mean that he won't do it again, especially with drugs involved. There's something my father told me when I was going through similar crap with my ex-husband. He said, "You have to teach others how you want to be treated." For the longest time, I tried to control how everyone treated me. That was until my father told me this. He said it didn't matter that people mistreated me. He said, "There will always be those that think it is okay to do so. You can't control how people behave, but you can control what you will allow in your life. If you stay and forgive him, what message does that send to him? It honestly lets him know that he can treat you like crap and you'll forgive him. I know that you love him, but the question is, do you love yourself more? If you do forgive him, could you honestly let it go, move forward, and not ask any more questions about the incident? I tried to forgive my ex-husband. He tried saying he was drunk and couldn't remember much, but slowly the truth came to light. I couldn't get past the lies. We ended the marriage. If you decide to end things, it sends a message to any future man you will meet. It sets a foundation for him to know what you will accept. After the divorce, I ended up marrying my best friend from high school. We had both been through crummy and toxic relationships. I remember when we started dating, I told him, "If you ever cheat on me, that is where our relationship ends." I said I won't ask questions about what happened because I'll already know that you broke something that didn't mean much to you. He said he agrees, and that's where he would draw the line too. It just boils down to self-love and doing what you know that you deserve. Best of wishes. Update. After basically begging him, he told me the name of the girl and I reached out to her. I called her and put her on speaker so we all three could talk. Unfortunately, I'm learning the situation was much worse than the story originally told, and I will be on a flight home in a few hours. The other girl is not unattractive, the sex was not protected. He and her had been flirty the entire 3 hours before they finally had sex. Hand-holding, sitting on his lap, making out a lot. He gave her oral sex, and basically the sex lasted quite a while, with various things being done. Not at all like the coked-out, unpleasant quickie that I was told about. I feel like I want to die. Update 2. First, I would like to just say thank you to everyone who has commented or messaged me. I appreciate all the kind messages, words of advice, and even some of the more harsher messages and comments. You guys have helped me more than you could imagine. I flew home this morning, took a nap, packed some of my things, took our cat, and am staying with a friend for the 6 days that he's away. He didn't want to go on the trip, but I insisted. I told him that if he has ever loved me, to please give me the time and space that I deserve. Unfortunately, our relationship is broken beyond repair. The reasoning behind why he cheated doesn't matter because the fact remains that he did. That in all of our time together, I have never even considered or wondered about another man, and the first chance he got, he chose to have unsafe sex with someone else. I believe that he loves me and quite possibly is sorry. I don't believe, however, that he has any respect for me or our life together. I don't know that I'd ever forgive him or trust him ever again. No respect and no trust means no relationship. We do have a shared life, so the ending of this relationship is not quite as easy as me packing and leaving and not looking back. We have shared accounts, both of our names on our lease, shared phone plans and car insurance. Basically, the next few weeks are going to be rough. Update 3. I have no idea if anyone cares about the outcome of this situation, but it's almost cathartic to write it all down, so I'm doing it anyway. I finally have a calm moment to sit at my computer and compose a logical thought. Upon me returning home, he and I had very little communication at my request. I had originally planned to spend the week at my friend's home to process this life-altering event, but early this afternoon he texted me telling me that he was home. Now, some people might think that that shows a lot of effort on his part, that he's remorseful, and rather than enjoy his vacation, he flew home to talk. Perhaps I would feel that way too, except that I asked for space. I told him that if he had ever loved me, he would give me time alone. He couldn't even give me that. I agreed to meet with him at our apartment to talk. I only wanted to talk about and sort out all the details, like our finances, home, etc. We agreed on paying to break our lease, to stay on the insurance policy and phone plan together for now, but unenroll autopay so we're able to make our payments separately. I also asked him to reimburse me for what I paid towards the vacation from hell. I wanted to wrap things up enough in that moment to where I would have to see and speak to him as little as possible. I know that some communication in the future will be inevitable, but right now, I can't deal with it. I told him that he can stay in our apartment until we have to leave. I packed some more of my things, and then I left. I don't know if he looked upset or if he was crying. I honestly barely heard anything that he had to say because I was so enraged at the person that I saw in front of me, a complete stranger. I don't know if the past 3 years were all a lie. I don't know if he had cheated before or that he would cheat on me again. All I am sure of is that he was capable of lying and cheating now. I refuse to be another cautionary tale of a woman who loved someone more than herself, so she forgave a cheater only to be cheated on again. There is a big difference between guilt and remorse. In the comments, he just lost something amazing. Play bad games, win bad prizes. OP replies, "This comment especially makes me feel good. I've been sitting here feeling sad and defeated, thinking about all that I could have done to cause this, but I haven't really stopped to reflect on all the ways that I was good in that relationship and didn't deserve this. He lost something much greater than I did. Maybe if I tell myself that enough, my heart will start to believe it too. Thank you for saying this. I commend you. You've been put in a horrible situation at no fault of your own. I'm sorry that you're going through this. You're a strong woman who is respecting yourself when your asshole boyfriend did not. Keep your chin up. You're definitely doing the right thing." OP replies, "I'm sure in some way I contributed to the need for him to do this, though I don't blame myself for him acting on the need. Thank you for your words." Update 4. Thank you to everyone that has commented or reached out after my last 2 posts. I first want to say that I'm doing okay. Even after what I'm going to say in this post, I am okay. I'm going to attempt to make this as brief as possible because I can't give this situation any more of my heart or energy, but it will most likely be long. Here we go. I am all moved out of the apartment, my things going into storage because I'm still staying in my friend's home for the time being. This breakup has proved to be financially burdensome, but somehow money has managed to be the least stressful part of this whole ordeal. It turns out that I never knew the man that I shared my life with for the past 3 years. My ex and I ended up having a conversation on the last day of us moving out. He seemed apologetic and sad and asked if we could talk. He said that he loves me, that he will always love me, and he wants us to stay together. He apologized and said that he would stop bullshitting, no more lies. I didn't feel the need to have a conversation, but I did just have one question. I asked him, why? I never could have imagined in a million years that he would tell me that the reason he cheated was because I miscarried 6 months ago. Especially because of how supportive and loving he was during that period in our lives, I felt blindsided and betrayed. He said that he knows that it was not my fault, that there was nothing that I could have done differently, but it had caused him to resent me, that he was angry. He said he knew how this sounded, which is why he never talked to me about it. He didn't want to hurt me. Ha! I, of course, at this point, felt sick. My heart hurts in ways that I never knew possible. Even the death of my father did not hurt in ways that his words and actions were hurting me now. Here is the man that I have unconditionally loved and supported for over 3 years. I was his biggest cheerleader in life, encouraged him to be his own person and to still live his own life. I wanted him to be happy. We never went to bed mad at each other. We never called each other names. We never not kissed each other goodnight or goodbye in the morning. Our relationship seemed great, and yet he's telling me that for the last 6 months, he has resented me, borderline hated me at times. He admitted to downloading Tinder and chatting with women over the last 6 months. He swore that it never became sexual up until the night that he cheated, and that was only because they had history. I have no clue if that's true, and honestly, I don't care whether it is or not. The cheating is minimal compared to the words he just spoke. We were both crying, and I handed him my keys for him to turn in. I gave him a hug, and I told him that he needs therapy, and that I never want to speak or to see him again. I have a therapy appointment next week, and will start to work on healing. I am looking at potentially getting a loan so I can get out of anything left that we have shared. I also want to look into moving to a different city, but that's still up in the air. I have changed my phone plan and blocked him everywhere. There was never a chance of him and I getting back together, and this just solidifies my decision. This will most likely be my last post on the subject, but I once again thank each and every one of you. In the comments, no, he didn't cheat on you because of this. You already said that in the first posting that you called the girl, and he was evidently romantic and cuddly with her for hours before sex even started. You don't kiss, cuddle, and go down on someone because you are resenting your significant other. This is just a cheater shifting the blame to make themselves feel better. Next time you speak with him, he will probably have some other reason that he cheated. They always do. Get your own phone plan and car insurance so that you can just cut ties with him. Nothing he says to make himself feel justified is ever going to make sense to you. And OP replies, I agree with you completely. Thank you. Yeah, I call bullcrap too. He just wanted to twist the knife a little further. You are well rid of this manipulative asshole. I wonder what happens to people who cheat. Like, do they move on and keep dating, pretending that it never happened? Possibly he's already checked out of the relationship and is just fabricating a story for the next woman in his life. I can't imagine what kind of person would date him after what he just did, unless lied to. I know Reddit is a filter for bad relationships and that people who are in positive ones generally don't post here, but still, looking at the amount of cheating that goes on in the world, I just don't know how these people continue to get away with it. Do people just lie very well? You know the classic tale of the great person you meet and how this person had shitty, abusive, crazy exes, but in the relationship, this person was the real nightmare. This is what will happen. He will blame the end on her and twist the miscarriage to whatever poor lady he will start dating next. And now onto the final update. I thought my last update would really be the last, but a lot has happened in such a short amount of time, I figured I could close this chapter with a neat little bow. First, I want to say thank you to each and every person that commented or messaged from either post. The outpouring of love is more than I could have ever imagined receiving from strangers. I see so many posts on here with much worse stories, and I don't know what I did to deserve the love and support, but I am eternally grateful. Second, and finally, me and my ex have not talked. There is absolutely no way for him to reach me directly, as I ended up moving in with a different friend for the time being. He does not know about this. He still thinks that I am at friend A's home and communicates with her if there is anything that needs to be said in regards to business matters. She does not allow him to talk about anything personal, and if he does, she does not pass it along. We have zero things connecting us at this point. In my last post, I talked about possibly moving cities, and well, that happened. I was offered a job that I've been trying to get for quite some time, and the position finally opened up. I've been working from home for about a week, will work from home for another week, and then I move. Rhonda, my kitty, is probably not going to be too thrilled, but we have a vet appointment for some kitty meds to hopefully ease the transition. She's top priority always. I love my new job, I love my friends, and I love where my life is headed. I wish nothing bad for my ex and have no ill will towards him, and truly hope that he can find peace in his life. Often what we lose is nothing compared to what we gain. It's just getting past our human ego and being able to see it. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for coming along on this journey with me. I wish you all happiness and love in your lives. In the comments, impulse overcame common sense, my ass. For 6 months he was looking for some fun. It just took 6 months to actually get it. And yeah, it's never sexual until it suddenly is. That is how dating works. And yeah, he framed it like, I only slept with a woman who I had a real-life connection with, when in reality is, only a woman I've been with before would sleep with me, and no one on Tinder was interested. I can't remember the post, but there was a woman that found out that her significant other was on Tinder, but was getting 0 responses and ghosted by all of his attempts. Like, I don't know if anything is more embarrassing than trying to be a shitbag cheater than trying and failing so miserably. Quote, he said she's not even attractive. Why do cheaters always say this? Dragging another woman, even one they cheated with, doesn't make it better. It arguably makes them look worse. I hope OP is out there living their best life. That was a line that really pissed me off. Before I got to the part where he resented her for the miscarriage, ugh. I flipped the hell out when I read that. Like, why even tell her that? That was unnecessarily cruel after the fact. I don't know, IMO, but all I had was rage in my heart when he said that, like he was negating her as a human one last time, like he does every woman. And beyond that, it makes him look like he'll still cheat even with people he considers second pickings. It's repulsive. I, 37 male, have a biological child who I've never seen, 17 female, wanting to make contact which I don't want, but my family does. What should I do here? So when I was 19, I was taken advantage of by an older colleague, 34 female, after a works night out, and she got pregnant. It didn't go anywhere legally as it was my word against hers, and she had the kid. Sadly, as there is no proof that it wasn't consensual, I had to pay child maintenance until it was 16. Obviously, as it was the product of what happened to me, I wanted nothing to do with it. I told her to raise her baby herself. The woman died, and I'm not sorry about it, a couple of years back, and I've not heard anything about the kid since, so I had no idea what was going on other than my maintenance stopping. Which was a relief because I finally felt like a milestone had been lifted from around my neck. Because of what happened, I never have been in relationships because of the issues it's caused me, and I haven't gotten any kids or anything like that, so I feel like I can start living a bit. Brought down to earth a bit last month when my mum said that the kid got in touch with her on social media and asked about me and my family and told them that she was living with her grandparents herself after her mum died until they both died themselves, so she's not got anyone now. Now, my mum is one of these people with a massive soft spot for kids and young people, so she feels sorry for her. I told her that I don't feel comfortable with her being in touch with us, and I want nothing to do with her, so keep her away from me. She seemed upset, but I thought that she accepted it. I will say throughout it all since then, my parents have been an absolute rock. They were some of the only people to support me, and I couldn't have done it without them. So I was talking to my mom at the weekend, and she admitted to me that she's not only kept in touch with the kid, but she had met them the week before, and they didn't tell me. Basically, they feel really bad for her because of the life that she's had and are starting to enjoy her being in their life. Not only that, she's been asking about me and what happened and wants to meet me to talk and ask me questions. Obviously, I'm upset about it. I not only had a go at them for going against my wishes, but for betraying my trust like that. She said that it's hard for her and my dad because of the way that I've been. Never had any kids or anything, and they have always been sad that they'll never have a grandchild, and this may be their only chance. She also told me she thinks I'm being out of order, taking it out on an innocent child who didn't ask for this and could at least meet her to talk. I've said no, and I've not spoken since, which is hard because I normally ring my folks twice a day, and my mum keeps on trying to ring me. I don't know what to do, Reddit. I obviously don't want to be cruel, but that kid is a reminder of what happened to me, and I'm just angry that she's coming back into my life now when I thought that it could be over. And how could my parents do this to me when they know how I feel? As it stands, I have no desire to meet her and don't see the good that could come from it. But I don't want to lose my parents either. What should I do? In the comments, if you are 100% sure about not having a relationship with a girl, then don't. Sit down and explain to your folks that they are free to have a relationship with her if they want, but if they do, they will not talk about you with her, and that you will be spending holidays separately, or at different times, or not at all, if she's coming over, and there are no accidental run-ins. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I hope you figure things out soon, and good luck. I'm sorry for what you've been through all those years ago, and I'm more sorry that you've suffered all these years since. Have you ever been to therapy to help you cope with what happened to you and begin to heal? I have, but I don't think it's really helped me so far, so I abandoned it. Go to a therapist that specifically works with trauma. It's a special training that many don't have. There are bad therapists and there are good therapists. Find one that works for you. There is no need to be a prisoner for the rest of your life over this. Well, that's just how I've felt all these years, but I have never been able to put it into words. Thank you. I come from trauma myself, and finally finding a therapist that can actually help me has changed my life. Trauma gets trapped in our nervous system. No amount of talking or wanting or being pressured to will change it. To clear it out, we have to specifically work with the nervous system and brain patterns around it. My therapist uses EDMR, somatic experiencing, and psychotherapy. Regular therapists aren't trained in all of that, and again, not all are a good fit. Though you are worth so much more than being a prisoner, and it's been long enough. Your pain matters. What you went through matters. How it doesn't seem that you have truly been acknowledged by others for being punished by someone else's crime when you were a minor matters. You deserve to be seen. It isn't healthy for you to be around the girl right now. Therefore, it won't be good for her either. Tell your family that you understand they're going to make their own choices in having a relationship with her, though you are not ready and they need to respect that and not force anything on you. That you are going to go to therapy, if you do, and request that they support you healing through this too. That you will let them know when and if you are ready, period. You cannot control what other people do, though you can heal yourself. I think you need to go to counseling to practice enforcing stronger boundaries if you want to maintain a relationship with your family. You did not want that child. You did what you had to by paying child support. It's sad that she lost her mom and now wants to meet you. You may be biologically related to her, but you are not her dad. And you made it clear right from the beginning. You are not the bad person here. This is just an unfortunate situation for everyone involved. Doesn't change the fact that there is an innocent 17-year-old girl with no family whatsoever. OP doesn't have to be a father figure to this child, but she's still a biological offspring of her grandparents, and it's not fair to tell them they cannot help this girl out of a terrible situation. Is it OP's responsibility? No. Would it be easier to forget she existed? Yes. But does it change the fact that she does exist? No. This situation is tragic, and it's going to cause hurt to someone regardless of the decision made. Either OP, a 37-year-old man, can be reminded of an awful experience but still be surrounded by loved ones, or a 17-year-old girl can be reminded of her own awful experiences, losing everyone she's close with, and be surrounded by no one. I know this will be the unpopular opinion, but I feel that the 17-year-old girl's welfare takes priority. He doesn't have to be in his daughter's life, but he can't ask his parents to ignore this girl after she has reached out to them. Back up to the post, we have an edit. So, I spoke to my mum today. She is still insistent on having a relationship with her. I said she can, but tell her I do not want to meet her at all, and won't do at all. Would you believe my folks are actually intending on her coming over and having Christmas dinner with us? I basically said that if they do that, I'm not going. Important edit, I get people disagreeing with my parents' actions, but please do not be respectful of them or call them names. Despite this, they are wonderful people, and they were the only people who ever had my back throughout. Thank you. And now, on to the update. So much went on since my last post. I spoke to my parents. I basically laid out exactly why I didn't want contact with her. I explained that it's not a personal thing, but rather that she is to me the living embodiment of my abuser, and that if I were to have contact, I feel it would make me relive it all over again. I reassured them that they can have contact with her and I won't stop it, but to stop trying to force me. They obviously agree with me, and said they'll respect my wishes. With regards to Christmas, as it stands, she will go for Christmas Day, and I won't, and I will go for Boxing Day. My parents are upset because it means I'll be completely on my own on Christmas Day. I also wrote her a letter, and I gave it to them. I wasn't mean or anything to her, but I explained exactly why I didn't want contact, and how being in touch with her would make me feel, and that until I get better, I didn't want contact, and I asked her to respect that. My folks gave it to her, and she read it while she was at their house. My mum told me that she broke down crying and was really upset. She obviously had no idea what happened. She then asked them if they'd let her have some paper and to write me a letter back, and she did. And then they gave it to me. Initially, I went mad that they did give it to me because I felt like they didn't respect what I'd said, but they begged me to read it, so I did. And God, I'm now confused. The letter was sweet, for want of a better word. She admitted in it that she had no idea and apologized to me. And that hurt that she felt like she had to apologize. She also said she'd respect my wishes, but gave her contact details, and said if I ever wanted to speak to her, she would be there for me. She also slipped a little passport photo of her in it, which is the first time I've ever seen her and what she looks like. It's weird because before this, she was just a thing. I could ignore her, but reading that, she became real. She has a little girl's handwriting. I felt like I could feel her pain in the letter, and seeing her photo, she's a kid. She doesn't look like me, but she really looks like my dad, but with her mum's hair and eye color. But she does look sad in it. I didn't say anything to my parents about it, but I'm now really effing confused. I know I shouldn't have contact with her, and I still don't want it for all the reasons I've said before. It's not good for me, and I also don't think for her. But I realize I don't hate her or am angry at her at all. I don't want her to feel guilty about her horrible mother, and now I see she's a good person. God, it's screwed up. I don't know what's going to happen. Edit, so I just sent my mum a message asking her to say to her that I read her letter and that I don't want her to feel that she has to apologize because she's done nothing wrong. She replied back saying she will. I think she deserves to know that, at least. In the comments, I am so glad you updated, and oh my god, the idea of finding out your mother was an abuser for the holidays, what a thing. But you had to tell her, and good on ya. I know, it has to be a horrible thing to find out, but I figure if anything comes out of this, she'll at least know that I don't want contact with her, not out of anything she's done. Exactly. It's not a happy thing to find out, but either she's lied to for the rest of her life, or she would sit there and wonder forever. At a certain point, it's better to just rip off the bandage. Talk with a therapist about whether to get in contact. It may be that forming a relationship with your daughter can be a part of the healing process, but it would take professional opinion to determine that. I definitely am trying to sort out some therapy or counseling. I know at this stage it would be a nightmare to have contact the way I am, though. You should do what you need to. I'm curious as to what leads you to keep saying it would be a nightmare the way I am. What way are you? What does your nightmare situation look like? How do you want to change for a better future for yourself? That's an interesting question. I consider myself quite backward for my age. I have lots of issues with my anxiety. I'd like to just be functional, have a career, relationship with someone I trust, and a bit of money for my future. There's a saying, do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I don't know if it applies, but my heart breaks for the both of you. There is literally no way for you to be happy the way things stand, and you both deserve so much happiness. I can't explain how I feel, but I feel sad for her too. Before this, I couldn't care how she felt, as it was all about me. Now, I feel all kinds of things. Your empathy has awakened. That's a good thing, but don't feel guilty for what you can't give her. Realize you have given her 2 new grandparents for her to have a relationship with. That is huge and a great thing. Take all the time you need for yourself. Don't let anyone else tell you or force you different. Only those with their own agendas will try. And now onto the second update. Reddit, you were advising me on the situation that I'm in with my biological child. So today I made a decision, and I want to see if it sounds as crazy as it is in my own head. So basically, I've decided to go to my parents' house at Christmas, when she's going to be there, and meet her. I've honestly just decided it today. I've been talking to my mum about it all weekend, and for the past few days, and the more we talk about it openly has made everything seem a bit more clear. I have worked out that despite the history attached, and no matter our biology, she is just a little girl. So today I was talking to my mum on my lunch break, and we were discussing Christmas and how we'd do it logistically at this point. I was only going Boxing Day. When my mum mentioned Christmas dinner and plating me one up to warm up and eat at home, I just realized, what's the point of avoiding everyone and sitting at home getting pissed and playing my PC with only my fish for company? So I went something like, yeah, you know what, screw it. Get enough for me, and I'm coming Christmas Day too. She thought I was joking. When she realized I wasn't, I could tell in the tone of her voice that she was thrilled. She then asked me if I realized the kid is still going, and I said I do. She asked me how I feel, and I said honestly I don't want to think about all that. I just want to go to Christmas Day and spend it with my family. And if a young girl is there, I will just be polite and respectful and treat her how I would any lonely young woman on Christmas Day. I asked her to let her know and text her and see if she's also okay with that. She did, and in the short space of time on my call, she got back to my mum really happy, saying of course it is, and she can't believe it. So that's it. I'm going. My mum texted me earlier saying that she's, my mum, so happy that I'm coming and doesn't have to worry about me being on my own anymore. I sat there this afternoon feeling a bit relieved, and I'm also bloody terrified, but not like in a bad way, more of a facing something uncertain way. Am I nuts? A week ago, I posted and was acting like I would rather cut contact with everyone, and now I don't really know what I feel. I'm thinking of writing her another letter too. Nothing serious, just a bit about me to introduce myself, and maybe ask her for one back. Would that be a nice thing to do? Is that too much? I mean, obviously I might panic and cancel last minute, knowing how flaky I can be, but I hope not. In the comments, life is short. This isn't guaranteed to play out like a Lifetime movie, but it's not guaranteed to end up in disaster either. I think opening yourself up to new experiences is a brave choice, and I think she'll be excited to just meet you and talk to you. Do take it slow, and give yourself an exit strategy if it gets to be too much. Take a break by going into another room, or maybe a short walk around the block. Try to go into there without expectations, and I think it's also important for her to do the same. Best of luck with everything. OP replies, definitely. I mean, I'm just rationalizing it to myself that I'm going to my folks, and we have a guest there, and only expect we'll have a nice day and good food. That's a good idea about a break though. I'm sure they'll let me walk the dog for them if I need to get out for 5. Since you're gonna write to her, maybe it'll take pressure off both of you if you include a disclaimer. Something like, to be honest, I am a little afraid to meet you. Please know that if I need to go home early or don't write you back right away, it's not because of you personally. It's the situation that is overwhelming. That gives you an out without worrying about hurting her feelings. Either way, can I just say that I was really happy to read that you're going to Christmas? That took courage, so remember to give yourself a lot of grace along the way. You're going to have days where you think that this was a terrible idea, days you're fine with it, days you look forward to it, and days you're angry all over again. On the bad ones, talk to people outside your family who love you and won't be hurt by the intensity of your completely justified feelings. If it helps, remember that this girl was not alive when the crime against you took place. Your relationship with her is brand new, and I wish you both the very best. Did she give you her email address? You should write her directly, instead of sending your parents between. No, although I did consider that, but I might yet. My thoughts are that this way, if it doesn't work out and we don't keep contact, I don't have the risk of someone having my email address that I don't want to be in contact with. At least this way, I can make that decision at a pace that I'm comfortable with. You can make an email just for communicating with her, silly. Oh yeah, duh. Sorry, I wasn't thinking. Been a busy week at work. Good idea though. Will be easier than writing each time, I suppose. Back up to the post, there's an edit. Thanks to the great suggestion of a commenter, I've set up a new email address solely for the purpose of her and I to communicate, so it saves us both having to write letters and wait. My mum's got her email for me, so I'm in the process of drafting an email. Effing hell, I've spent hours in the past week communicating with strangers all over the world on Reddit, but do you think I know what to say in an email to a teenage girl living not too far away from me? I am absolutely blank. And now for the final update. So sorry folks, editing my post I accidentally deleted it. But me and my daughter have been corresponding through email this last few days a lot. It feels like hundreds of emails and getting to know each other. Even though it's been weird, I have really enjoyed it. She's a lovely kid, and I genuinely like her. So this afternoon we were chatting, and I signed off my email with "Love Dad" without thinking. And she messaged me back, "Dad, you mean it?" And I was like, I suppose I do. I haven't heard from her since because she's working today, but I keep on thinking about it. In fact, she texted me a couple of minutes ago with a smiling emoji and a love heart. I responded the same. I was so scared to embrace her. To me, a couple of weeks ago, she was just my abuser's baby. But now, I acknowledged she's mine. Like I'm her dad. She's my daughter. I wouldn't say love is the right word, but she's mine. If someone asked me if I had a kid, I'd say I do. I don't know how I feel about it on an emotional level. I don't have this warm paternal feeling like I think people probably do, but at the same time, I know she's mine, even though we've never met. But at the same time, I feel that I want to meet her before Christmas. I don't know if I can wait. Even if we have a video message, I'm going to video call her tomorrow. F me, I am really, really nervous. I don't think a lot of people have been in my situation ever, but is this natural? Am I doing it right? Should I do anything different? What does a dad actually do? I feel like crying yet smiling at the same time. In the comments, "This is tough, man. You're doing the best you can, and it looks like it's working. Do what your heart is saying and have no regrets." Thank you. I'm just doing what I'd do for anyone who doesn't have a family at Christmas. Maybe I'll look back on this in a month and say that it's a great decision or my biggest ever mistake. Yes, but at least you have an answer and not a what if. Good luck, dude. Wow, what a ride reading your post history. I'm so proud of you for how you're handling things. I think it's such a beautiful thing that the two of you are getting to know one another. It made my heart smile to read that you had softened your heart to the idea of meeting her. I respect how you felt before, but I'm so happy the two of you are getting to know each other. I hope that this becomes a happy ending for you both. That took an incredible amount of strength for the girl to reach out to the family and for OP to decide to meet her. There is a lot of pain here, but also a lot of love and empathy and willingness to confront hard things and move forward. I wish them all the best and I hope that they can find peace. I can't imagine the gut punch of finding out one of your parents is the abuser and the only reason you exist is because of their crime. It's bad enough for a child to be told, "You were an accident." I can't imagine telling a child, "You were the product of a violent crime." knowing that your father was never around, and it wasn't your fault, but it was entirely because of what you represented. Imagine realizing that you were the physical manifestation of someone's most traumatic experience. Yikes. I really hope these people are in therapy. Am I the asshole for uninviting my mother to my wedding after she invited father-in-law? My fiancé, 29 female, and me, 34 male, are getting married in 2 weeks after 13 years of friendship and 4 years of dating. She's fantastic, and our relationship has been so good for the both of us. Planning the wedding has been uncomplicated and fun. We included my mother a lot. For example, my fiancé took her dress shopping. The reason is that my fiancé has always had a good relationship with my parents, and it grew much closer over the past year after her mother died. They kind of see her as another child, and I know that fiancé appreciates that immensely. As for my fiancé's father, she went no contact when she was 15. Even before that, he hadn't played an important role in her life. His behavior was one cause in her having depression and low self-esteem, and it took her years to heal. She's happy with the way things are now. I never met the man, so neither of us considered inviting him to the wedding. My mother, however, won't understand why we won't invite him. Mom is a retired psychologist. She's had some experience with child-parent reunification, and she thinks my fiancé needs that, even more after my fiancé's mum's death. Fiancé and I both shut my mum down plenty of times. We both made it clear that this man was not to know anything about my fiancé's life, nor would be welcome anywhere near the wedding. For a while, my mum shut up. My mum doesn't know fiancé's father. The other night we had dinner with my family, and my mum had an announcement. Apparently she looked my fiancé's father up and went to see him. Then she invited him to our wedding. She seemed so pleased. My family was appalled and angry. They all know what has happened. My fiancé somehow remained calm and told Mum how inappropriate that was, how Mum hurt my fiancé terribly by overstepping this one boundary that she ever had, how fiancé had lost all her trust in Mum after this. I then uninvited my mum and we left. Fiancé only broke down at home. My mother's also been inconsolable since and called me dozens of times, but I haven't picked up yet. Fiancé feels unsafe to have the wedding if there was a chance that her father might show up. We might just cancel the whole thing. My father, who is not condoning any of my mother's actions, thinks that I should talk to Mum and hear her out. My siblings agree that uninviting her was too drastic. I just see the distress my mother had caused my fiancé, and I get angry all over again. So am I the asshole for sticking to our decision? In the comments, not the asshole. She may be a retired psychologist, but she showed the emotional intelligence of soggy bread. What a huge violation of your fiancé's boundaries. I was shocked when OP revealed that his mother was a retired psychologist specialing in family reunification. Even I know that an emotional day like a wedding isn't the time to start getting reacquainted. OP replies, she specialized in child psychology. My fiancé has once said that maybe my mother doesn't realize how much situations might change with age. Fiancé said that she'd been open to reconciliation when she was younger, but that it's too late now. Still no excuse in my opinion. Sheesh, your mum must have been a crap psychologist to do what she did. Not the asshole, but if I were your fiancé, I would expect you to go no contact or it'd be over. Psychologists are like doctors. 1. All of their education won't erase their biases, and in fact, probably reinforced some of them and created new ones. And 2, many a health practitioner's ability to be objective goes out the window when it comes to family, and they become cartoonishly bad at their job. Not the asshole. Cancel the wedding and go and elope instead. That kind of betrayal would be enough for me to consider going no contact with my mum. It wasn't just a small mistake or an oversight, it was a deliberate action to trample boundaries and to push an agenda that you have made very clear you and your fiancé have no desire to pursue. As a retired psychologist, your mother should have known better than anyone just how damaging the actions she chose would be to your fiancé, and to any existing relationship between the both of you and herself. I wonder what people expect from stunts like this. And even if your mum's a psychologist, is she your fiancé's psychologist? What kind of psychologist would do this to a patient? So honestly, not the asshole. Maybe hear her out? I would do with my mom, but I'd stick to the uninvitation if she thinks she can wreak havoc knowingly. And tell her that she can be glad to be just uninvited from your wedding and not your whole life. Horrible behavior right there. OP replies, I suppose she expected gratitude and maybe that having a second parent would help fiancé grieve her mum better. She often thinks she knows what's best for her children. She, however, never trampled boundaries to this extent before. Until now, it's been limited to advice and recommendations, so I don't know how to deal with all of it. Back up to the post, we have an edit. This really blew up, didn't it? Thank you all for your advice and perspective. It's truly heartbreaking how many of you have estranged relatives and can relate to this. I'm sorry. I met my dad earlier. He is really sorry for what my mum did and how he'd pushed me to listen to her at first. I told him that my fiancé was the person hurt in this, that it was really up to her. Dad did offer to cover additional costs that we might have now. Both siblings called individually to apologize to fiancé as well. I don't know what to make of it just now. It is a good start, I think. I haven't talked to mum though. Also, my fiancé's brother-in-law had a good idea regarding the wedding. We might do it earlier. That way we'd at least keep the venue. We're still figuring details out, but it might actually work. And now, on to the update. This is the update to my first post, since a bunch of people asked for one. First, thanks for all the helpful comments, insights, and awards. We were very overwhelmed and grateful. The biggest thing is, we are married. In the end, my wife's sister and brother-in-law saved the day. Originally, the wedding was on the 18th at brother-in-law's restaurant. That was the date and place where we went from friends to dating 5 years ago. On the day of the OP, wife went to go see her sister, and they suggested having the wedding a week earlier, on the 11th. It felt like the best option. Brother-in-law was willing to do the work because wife is like a sister to him. His team and him got a generous tip from my dad. Wife, sister-in-law, brother-in-law, and I told all the guests, save my family, of the date change. Wife didn't want to tell people why. Amazingly, everyone made it work except for 3 people. My family was told the morning of the wedding just to make sure wife's father would not have time to come to the wedding as he lives 15 hours away from us. My family didn't complain because they knew that they messed up. It was all a bit stressful, but my wife felt like a spy on a mission, and she had fun with it. I was glad to see her get excited again, and there was no sign of her father at the wedding, so I guess Mum finally listened. In the week before the wedding, we met my family to talk several times. These were long talks. Why my mum did it? She just thought she knew better. No excuses other than arrogance. They all apologized. My wife said one family torn apart by her father's actions was enough. She insisted that they were invited, so that was that. However, we made it clear that contact with her father would be punished much harder in the future, especially when it comes to children. It's forgiven but not forgotten, I guess. As to what my wife's father found out from my mum, apparently not much. He knew a bunch already from my wife's eldest brother. Mum filled in gaps. That brother is the only of my wife's siblings that was still in touch with their father. Brother and wife were on thin ice before that already, for many but different reasons. Yes, we let that brother attend the wedding, mostly because we didn't want more drama. But we'll tackle that when wife feels ready to do so. We did have a honeymoon to get to first. All in all, I think we are fine. Wife is very hurt still, more so by her brother's actions now. With my family, we'll work on it. The imminent threat is dealt with. Now we start fixing the damage. Through it all, my wife was amazingly calm and reflected. It made me much more grateful that I get to be with her. In the comments, was your mum's apology, in your opinion, genuine, or was it an, I'm sorry, but... Also, I'm glad that it all worked out. Congrats on the wedding, and all the best to you and your wife. And OP replies, from what we could tell, it was genuine. I suppose my initial uninvitation made her take a look at her actions and blew some sense into her. The best result you can expect from this situation. If your wife is okay with giving your mum another chance, make sure to let your mum know that she is on thin ice. Congrats! I love your wife's comment, one family torn up by my father's actions is enough, and that being the impetus for moving forward with forgiveness. May you have many years of wedded bliss. As someone who has been happily married for 23 years, we have 2 rules. 1. Never go to bed angry with each other, as sometimes you just need to say, I love you, and we'll see how we feel about things when we're not tired. Typically, you forget why you were fighting in the first place. 2. Never sleep apart because you're upset with one another. Cracks in a marriage are like a sidewalk, in that they only get bigger over time, so you need to provide constant maintenance. Again, congrats, and again, not the asshole. Always with the forced reconciliations, and at a wedding too, no less. How is that supposed to work? Oh hey everyone, before the bride comes out, we just gotta quickly get a decade or so of emotions and issues out of the way, so dad can walk her down the aisle. I cannot think of a worse time and place to pull this crap, but some idiots love their Hallmark moments, I guess. Our next post is titled, I never want to have sex again, like ever, but I do not want to lose or hurt my husband. I've been struggling with this for over a year. I, 29 female, am married to a man who we shall call John, 30. I saw other posts on here of others in a similar spot, and I have done a few things over the last year or so. I have been to doctors, therapists, asked around online about solutions, but my sex drive is just flat dead. Nothing brings it back. Nobody has had any answers, yet. I'm in perfect shape, and so is he. I haven't lost love or physical attraction. No body dysmorphia, hormonal levels are fine. I am not on hormonal birth control. I don't take any other medications. I tried stupid online bullcrap and snake oil, but I think deep down I knew that stuff was never going to work. We have been together for 7 years, married 3. We are happy and have a good home and good careers, 3 wonderful dogs, and our families get along. But I just cannot stomach the idea of ever having sex again. It makes my skin crawl thinking about it. I've either been making excuses to put it off, or just grinning and bearing it when he was clearly just riled up, and I didn't have the heart to look him in the eye and say, ew. I literally have a cry the next time I am alone. I was his first, but he wasn't my first. I taught him how to be my lover. Everything was fine for over 5 years. John is considerate, takes his time, made sure we both had fun and felt satisfied. I feel so awful even considering talking to him about it. Before last year, we had done it nearly every day. Over the last year, though, my sex drive has slowly died. I think that I just do not want to have sex ever again. Is that so odd? Why is that so wrong? How do I approach this with John? I plan to sit him down on our next day off together, which is in 5 days. I have that long to decide what to do. I can't do this to him or myself any longer than that. Is it right for me to unilaterally cut that part of our relationship out? I do not think so, but everyone says that I shouldn't be forced to do it just to keep my marriage, which sounds like crap based on the posts here. I know sex is important. I don't know what to do next. He has been completely in the dark on this because I'm scared of divorce. I don't want him to think that I don't love him or think he's unattractive. I'm scared to hurt my best friend. I don't want him to resent me or to feel trapped. Just any advice, please. I feel like I'm about to burn our entire lives down. In the comments, you must communicate this to him. He needs to be able to choose between you and a dead bedroom or moving on. You are certainly within your rights to not want to have sex again. You don't have the right to choose that for John. There's a third option, for him to have a hall pass for sexual relations only. But that's very tricky. That only works if John is not monogamous. Personally, I believe that all hall passes are a trap that lead to jealousy and a bunch of other small relationship problems that build up and become a lot. If you can do it, it's a great compromise, but it's only a great compromise if you are personally okay with your husband sleeping with others. If this even slightly vexes you, imagine how it'll feel after a tough day at work, traffic on the way home, and the Starbucks messed up your order, and you pull home to find your car has a flat, and then your husband tells you that he has a friend coming over later, or whatnot. Have you considered seeing a sex therapist? Had the same thought. Situations like this is why they exist. There's nothing wrong about it. If you don't want sex, it's fine. It's not fine to not tell your husband because you're afraid of a divorce. It's good that you're planning to tell him, but just as it's valid that the thoughts of sex is repulsive to you, it is equally valid that he wants to have sexual fulfillment. This makes you incompatible. No matter how much love there is between two people, if their needs are incompatible, it cannot work out. Even if he tolerates it for a few years, like you've been tolerating this for a year, it'll only lead to unhappiness and resentment. Allow him the freedom to make his choice. And now, on to the update. I decided to talk to him sooner rather than later, and took a few days off from work to sort this out. I think he might have left me over the lying to him for a year part. I am mostly just venting, but if you have thoughts, by all means. I do not think there is anything I can do alone to fix this. John wasn't angry at first, but made it clear that he would not support being in a sexless marriage. He was also a bit annoyed that I asked if he would be okay sleeping with others. He's one of those people that are super honest, and he holds to his values quite strongly, which is one of the many things that I respect about him. There was a lot of emotions. He walked around the neighborhood a few times and would come back in and ask questions, and then leave again. He goes on walks to clear his head. This is not strange. He was angry after I told him how long I had kept this to myself, and to be clear, he asked for a timeline. I told him about the doctors, snake oil, and the therapy. I knew he was going to be mad, but John was red and absolutely effing silent. I've only seen him genuinely mad once before, and it quite literally paralyzed me to have him look at me that way. John has never and will never hurt me, but he never made me feel small or vulnerable. His size always made me feel safe, but in that moment I felt different. He just walked away, got his laptop bag, and said he was going to a friend's house. I have a feeling that I know which one, but I didn't have a chance to ask. I have not heard back from him since he left 2 days ago. I called and texted, but he didn't answer me directly. Instead, I got a call from his older sister. She asked me to just leave him be and let him work stuff out for the moment. At least I know he's somewhere safe. She asked me what I did to upset him so much, and I, foolishly, told her the truth. That went just swell. I completely needed my ass chewed because that can only help, right? Sarcasm, in case that's not obvious. At this point, I just want him to come home. He has been the perfect partner, and I just want him to talk to me. He doesn't deserve this. I should have never kept anything to myself. We have a king-sized effing bed that I am sleeping in alone. The dogs are clearly confused, sleeping by the door because I am the only one feeding and walking them instead of both of us. My plan, assuming he goes along with it, is suggesting couples therapy. That's all I got. In the comments, let him process this. It's a lot. It really is. If my wife came to me and told me she'd been bearing it, and that sex with me made her skin crawl, as she said in the previous post, for a year, I'd feel effing insane. Like he's going to feel like a goddamn predator. I would feel like I had been unknowingly assaulting my wife for a year. I'd be furious too. Like, she's put him in the worst possible position here by just refusing to be honest with him. This is the reason. My husband recently overheard me telling someone that way back when I had postpartum depression, I had to stop Prozac after a few months because it killed my libido and made my skin crawl. Now, my husband and I have always had an awesome sex life that I greatly enjoy. He was still devastated, truly distraught at the thought that I was grinning and bearing it for a few months 15 years ago. I assured him that I liked the closeness and it felt good once I warmed up, which was true by the way. If you're going to tell your husband you don't want sex anymore, that's one thing, but you can't tell a man who cares about you that all the sex you've had for a year has been unwanted and skin-crawlingly awful. That's cruel and completely breaks any trust. He's going to think, what else have you been faking and lying about? I can attest to this. I was personally told recently that my significant other dealt with it and just used it to get that physical satisfaction and that it had been going on like that for a while. I'm still pretty reeled back about it and can't help but feel like I was being used. Based on what you say are his strong values about monogamy, you've given him a deal breaker. You've also told him that you felt this way for a year, which means every time y'all were intimate, he was under the impression that you were an enthusiastically willing participant. He needs time to process, and really, you should assume that there is no coming back from this. And by bringing up an open relationship, her husband probably thinks that she doesn't want him anymore, but has someone else in mind. And now onto the final update. He is leaving, but clearly trying to burn my life down on the way out. So John has decided to leave. Divorce proceedings are already messy because John challenged our prenup in court, and it was found to be unconscionable by the judge because I had violated it by telling him to basically cheat if he ever wants sex again. I had no idea that he had even hired a lawyer, so I showed up alone and unprepared. Why isn't anyone in this whole thing seeing that I am miserable and don't want him to leave at all? I do not understand why having sex is such a big deal for him. We did so many other things together, and just because I don't want to do one of them anymore, it is all over. Whatever happened to consent? Now we have to fight over the house, dogs, and he's even going after business assets. We could have had an easy split, but he has decided to be petty instead. My only option to protect the business that I started during college is to use lawyers he could never afford. Our entire life has turned to crap, and I'm struggling to find out why I'm having to suffer for this. In the comments, you are absolutely in your right to not have sex ever again if you don't want to, but it's a very important part of most typical sexual and romantic relationships. You're being unfair in asking for understanding, but giving none. I'm sorry he's being petty. Clearly, he is very hurt, but you can't shirk all responsibility for the demise of your relationship simply because it's your right to not consent/never want sex again. I also understand that you don't want the divorce and are fully content and satisfied with all the other parts of your marriage, but you took the physical out of the relationship without his consent, so he is choosing to leave, and being a jerk about it. I do hope you find a loving partner who is interested in a romantic, asexual relationship. You deserve to find someone who wants what you want. I thought this was a little funny, but OP knew what she was doing with the matches, gasoline, and Tinder, just didn't expect the garage fire to consume the house. This was OP's last comment on her first post. Just any advice, please. I feel as though I'm about to burn our entire lives down, and OP's title on latest post, he is leaving but clearly trying to burn my life down on the way out. I wonder why her sex drive has just vanished. I know she said she's tried everything, but it's one thing for your libido to go down with age and a steady partner, and it's another to be disgusted at even the thought of sex with your husband, especially one she clearly loves. I feel like there is a giant missing reason here. Agree. It wasn't even her sex drive vanishing, she is sex repulsed. It's one thing to not have a sex drive and still want it, like me after I had a baby but got back there, but to swing so wildly to be sex repulsed, there is something else going on. Yeah, I'm really curious about that too. It sounds very similar to how I felt about sex for a few months postpartum. I wonder if her hormones actually aren't fine and she's just had crap doctors, since that's pretty common with women's health. Oh god, imagine if everything could have worked out fine with a full-spectrum hormone battery and a few pills or a smidgen of testosterone gel. Yep, I have seen many women who have had their hormones checked by their primary care physician and everything's fine, but then when they go to a hormone specialist and get treated, their sex lives improve dramatically. I've considered it myself because my libido tanked earlier this year and it felt like it was 100% due to hormones. However, my PCP says I'm in perfect health and my hormones are fine. I'm worried that a hormone specialist might be snake oil or a waste of money, so I haven't done it yet. My doctor is a gynecologist specialist and said that you can't do blood test work for hormones alone because they dip and rise over the period of an hour. I initially saw a male doctor before this female gynecologist joined our practice, and he did bloods and said I was fine. 18 months later, when this female doctor arrived, and she looked at my estrogen levels done previously by my male doctor, and said that based upon the reading, she wasn't sure how I was still sane because, I can't recall the numbers, but say for example, they should have been 1,000, they read like 109 and were so low. Albeit, you can't go off bloods alone, the reading should have caused some concern, so I had suffered unnecessarily for 18 months until she arrived and fixed me. Am I the asshole for staying neutral in a situation between my son and my daughter and wife? This all started a couple of years ago, and it completely split our family apart. My son Z, 22 male, has pretty much been estranged from us since he was 18. Adam is the son of good family friends. He and my daughter P, 24 female, begun dating around when they were 19. The problem is Adam was a bully to my son throughout school, and as you can imagine, he didn't take it very well. He was furious. However, my daughter refused to budge on this. I tried to stay out of the situation, but my wife took my daughter's side, partially as we are good friends with Adam's parents, but also because she thought that Z would eventually get over it. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and instead, it made a stark difference in my son's personality. He had become much more aggressive, cold, and disrespectful. He no longer listened to what me or his mother had to say, often using intimidation to get what he wanted. He would also disappear for days at a time without so much as a word. This would more or less carry on until he left for university, after which he probably spent no more than 2 weeks in total back at home, opting to stay with friends or whatever girl he was seeing at the time. He has rejected any olive branch that we extend. This has completely destroyed our family, and it especially hurts my wife, as they were quite close before this happened. The last time we spoke was last year before lockdown. He called me a coward for sitting on the fence. I understand why he feels the way he does, but was I really wrong to stay neutral in this? I didn't feel like it was my place to control my daughter's dating life. In the comments, "You're the asshole. Why did you two not help your son while he was being bullied? Why be friends with the bully's parents? You aren't neutral. You took the bully's side." Yeah, I'm baffled that OP thinks he's helping anyone by staying neutral. The entire family failed the son, and now they're seeing the consequences. You're the asshole. If I had them as parents, I too would have disowned them a long time ago. This reeks of missing reasons. As someone who is estranged from their family, it's not an easy choice and took years of build-up. There is no way that it was just because of his sister's boyfriend. Seeing your childhood bully for extended periods because your sister thinks it's totally fine to date him and that no one is on your side can alienate you to the point of going no contact. Not to mention, most of them don't stop it when they're dating a sibling of their victim. Yep, you're the asshole. So are your daughter and your wife, especially your daughter. I would never have dated someone who bullied my sibling. That is a betrayal of a huge magnitude, and the fact that your wife supported her horrible actions and you stayed out of it was also a betrayal to him. Your wife made it clear to her son that he is less valuable to her than his sister, so she has no right to feel hurt. You refusing to take part was tantamount to taking her side. You as a family excluded your son, and you left him with no support. Your son had every right to feel the way he did about this situation. He rejects your olive branches because they mean nothing. And now, on to the update. I wanted to upload this earlier, but I just got around to remembering what the password for this was. I did not plan on making an update. It was quite clear that we were in the wrong and we accept that. However, my son was informed of the original post by one of his cousins. He got in contact and he found it hilarious. My wife managed to convince him to meet up with us and talk. He insisted on me making an update with the takeaways from that conversation, so here goes. Regarding this post, his exact words were, "Big up the people who showed love, and all the people who called me petty can go F themselves." He said this with the biggest smile on his face. He also found it hilarious how, despite me trying to make him look bad, most of the replies were still ripping into me. I'm sure a lot of people are interested in how he's doing now. I'm safe to say that he has outgrown his abrasiveness and has become a very confident and intelligent young man. He is very secretive about what he's doing now, but one thing he is open and proud about is the charity that he runs. He happily went into detail about how he works with disadvantaged children and helps them get opportunities, particularly in sports. In regards to his sister and Adam, he seems completely indifferent to them. He said he wasn't particularly interested in talking about two losers who no one really likes. It was a long conversation, and we talked about a lot, but it seemed to end with my son letting us know that while there might be the slightest bit of contact between us, me and my wife will always be on the outside looking in on his life. While this isn't what me and my wife had hoped for, we are looking at it as a chance to eventually build our relationship back up. This was the main takeaway from everything that has happened, but I know there are probably a lot of questions that people want to ask. and I'll try my best to get around to answering all of them. In the comments, is it just me, or does it seem like OP still doesn't get it? The kid doesn't want much of anything to do with them, and that probably won't change. That's what happens when you alienate your child. OP is straight up deluded. His son was straight up mocking all of them, and he is too dense to see it. This is what gets me. That meetup was quite clearly an "I hear your decision really screwed the family up, look how good I'm doing without you" situation. You'll always be on the outside looking in, and of course, only wanting to talk about how he helps kids. Unlike you, Dad, being the implied part of all of that, laughing in his face the whole time. Man got disrespected fully and then posted to tell everyone. There is posting your L's, and then there is posting the entire Chicago subway system. I feel the dad, and probably mother, still think Z will overcome this bullying situation somehow. I don't think there is anything to win here for Z. Good that he's doing well for himself, though. Reminds me of Flanders' parents. We've tried nothing, and we're all out of ideas. My mother is like this. I haven't seen her in 12 years, and I have no interest to, and have made that clear. She is a narcissist, and my life is so much better without her. Sometimes she'll contact me like nothing has happened and want to chat and grab a coffee. And I'm like, what about this situation makes you think I want that? I understand people hoping that their kids get over it and they can rebuild, but at some point you need to realize that you screwed up beyond repair.